Smell?
Musky.
Do you think? Well, musky doesn't sound like a nice smell.
No,
Caroline, I'm not saying you smell musky or not, because I have to go out this door now and face Caroline, the first person I meet.
I don't think you're going to make it to the front door, Sunshine.
See, you see the
I
way
trapped you there.
You did trap me, and I fell for it. Yeah. Your phone's dinging away. You better put it on silent.
Oh, I've just gone live. Excellent.
Oh, there you go.
That's the notification. So, folks, if you put on notifications, you know exactly when we go live.
I see that
on YouTube.
Oh, very good.
All right, Lee, have a lovely day.
You too. Good luck to you.
Okay, take care of yourself. It is the 9 till noon show coming up. It's a busy one for you, as always, of course. But first, let's get a news update from Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Cabinet is expected to sign off on financial assistance for businesses in Raphoe and Castlefin today, affected by flash floods on Saturday. Proposals are coming before Cabinet this morning to reopen the Business Enterprise Fund. Support is available for homeowners through the Department of Social Protection's Assistance Fund. Agriculture Minister Charlie McConaughey says he agrees with calls for flood relief schemes in Raphoe and Castlefin to be expedited.
I know there has been plans put in place by the OPW working with the County Council, but it's important that those happen as quickly as possible. There's been ongoing flooding issues over many, many years in both those towns, in particular both Castlefin and Raphoe, as well as many others, but there is particular proposals which can actually alleviate the problems in Castlefin and Raphoe, and it's important that those are expedited. And I know coming out of the meeting of the County Council yesterday that every effort is going to be made by the County Council working with the OPW.
Searches are being carried out in Fanid after a Galway man went missing. Greg King was visiting the area with friends and was last seen at midnight on Sunday. People are being asked to check their land and any outbuildings. In a social media post, a friend of Greg says they are all very worried as it is out of character for him to go missing. A Donegal man is to be sentenced today after being found guilty of the rape and sexual abuse of his young daughter. 55-year-old Michael Carter of Kinnigo Ballymagam was found guilty last month of 1 count of rape and 25 counts of sexual assault when his daughter was aged between 9 and 12 years old between June 2010 and June 2014. His daughter, 22-year-old Karen Harkin, has waived her right to anonymity and said in her victim impact statement that she will no longer imprison herself in feelings of guilt and shame that are not mine to carry. The full report is available on our website, highlandradio.com. Government ministers are due to hear this morning about the recommendations of the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review. The draft report includes plans for the restoration of a rail link between Letterkenny and Derry. Among the proposals being outlined by Transport Minister Eamon Ryan are more electrification of the network and services at least every 2 hours between the main urban centres and hourly between main cities. Finally, for weather, a good deal of dry weather today with sunny spells this morning, becoming cloudier this afternoon with some showers possible. Highest temperatures of 17 or 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
There's nothing quite like a McDelivery in your own home. Or eating a quarter pounder with cheese in your PJs. There's nothing like tucking into a box set with a Big Mac. Or delving into your secret stash of dips, then dunking a McNugget in 3 of your favourite sauces. 'Cause what you do in your home is your business. There's nothing quite like a McDelivery. Order now in the Uber Eats or Just Eat app. At participating restaurants only. Serving times and delivery fees apply. See Uber Eats or Just Eat for full details.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9. It's Tuesday, the 25th of July, 2023, and you're welcome along to another edition of your 9 till noon show. And we're here to keep you entertained, hopefully, and informed over the next 3 hours. Plenty lined up, as you can imagine. It's Tuesday, so we've got the latest appeals and information. You hear them first here before anyone else on Community Garda Information. We're going to be talking about the future of democracy. We're going to be getting updates on those new IVF rules that are coming in, or the new availability of it. We're going to hear an appeal as it relates to that missing persons, friends and family going through an awful time at the moment. There's that and so much more besides. So we want you involved in the conversation or starting it, sharing your information with us. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. If you want to Text or WhatsApp us from outside the Republic at 00353866025,000. Maybe you're caught up in some of these extreme weather events overseas and you want to let us know what it's like there. Is it exactly as it's being portrayed? Is it worse? Is it not as bad? Interested in any feedback at all whatsoever? Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. The Donegal Democrat this morning. Sandbags and piles of debris were the only signs left of the deluge that swept through Rafo on Saturday evening. By Sunday afternoon, there's a palpable sense of relief that the rain had stopped, and for many, that it was business as usual after the previous evening's frantic cleanup at the town's diamond. Local people were coming and going, picking sandbags from the temporary depot and checking in with each other. You can read more about that, of course, on the inside of that paper. On to the Irish Independent this morning. The state will pay for a full cycle of IVF for couples seeking to give birth under a new scheme to be introduced in September. The programme will be available to couples who do not have children and where the woman is under 41 years old. What do you think about that? The age, the upper age limit being 41. It's not just that, though. Along with the age limit, there are also criteria around the body mass index of women applying to the scheme. So they will be able to apply, but and there's another criteria too, which is really quite confusing compared to international best practice. A, you must be under 41, and B, you must have a certain BMI level, or certainly not be above a certain BMI level. Couples who have a known clinical cause of infertility will also miss out. Couples who have a known clinical cause of infertility will also miss out on the free IVF program. The criteria for access to the scheme were recommended by a working group of clinical experts. I actually thought it was couples who have an unknown clinical cause of infertility will miss out. I must get that double checked here. I hope it's not a misprint in the paper this morning. But anyway, the criteria for access to the scheme were recommended by a working group of clinical experts. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly secured 10 million for the scheme in last September's budget and is expected to seek around 30 million to continue the programme into the new year. As I say, just hold off on any opinion as it relates to the known clinical cause of infertility, because, as I say, that doesn't make sense. I would imagine it's an unknown one, because that's where the problem lies for about 25% of couples. For about 25% of couples, the cause of infertility is unknown. And if you haven't been able to conceive for 2 years in other countries, then you can normally go through a state-backed scheme. As I say, I'll double-check that. It could be a misprint in that paper, because I think it's an important clarification. But we have been speaking about that over the years, as you regular listeners would be aware. So we'll have get someone in the know to see whether or not they believe it goes far enough. The Irish Times, as night follows day, Extra Gardaí follows national newspaper and radio and TV coverage, and as predicted, dozens of additional officers are to be assigned to Garda stations in North and South Central Dublin within 2 weeks, Assistant Commissioner Angela Willis has said. Now, it's the capital. It's where a lot of people come to visit. I get it. It needs to be safe. But we up here in the Northwest are constantly saying we've got this particular problem. We've got these unique geographical challenges. We need more Gardaí. We say it, politicians say it, Chief Garda in the county say it, and nothing comes of it, even when we have massive drugs being found on our shores, a horrific murder recently, people being stabbed and fighting in broad daylight, no extra resources. But as soon as there's and this sounds incredibly insensitive to the tourist that was attacked, and I don't mean to be in any way insensitive, but as I say, last week, as soon as night, as sure as night follows day, as soon as it started getting the media coverage, all of a sudden extra Gardaí can be found to put into stations in Dublin, and yet places outside of Dublin, nothing, no extra resources, it seems. Well, anyway, Assistant Commissioner Angela Willis was speaking as Drew Harris must be on annual leave. She added that these Gardaí would be deployed on high visibility patrols in an effort to tackle violence and antisocial behaviour in the city. Again, the call has been made locally here in certain areas that we need more high-profile Garda presence, but there's no Gardaí available. Then we have to talk about getting cameras because there's no Gardaí available. But now in Dublin, They're going to have extra Gardaí and high visibility patrols, which, as I say, I don't begrudge them that. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it's very important that the capital, it's our capital, that people feel safe in it. It just always seems to be the case that we can bang drums here till we're blue in the face and nothing comes of it. And as soon as it's on the front pages in Dublin, all of a sudden the Gardaí are available. Ms Willis, who is in charge of policing in the capital, said Garda Commissioner Drew Harris had also promised that the Dublin region would receive a continued flow of new personnel from the Garda College in the months ahead. Speaking at the Dublin City Joint Policing Committee yesterday, Ms Willis said a recently opened Garda station on O'Connell Street had very, very little, if any, callers after 10 p.m. daily, despite being open until 2 a.m. So, as I say, I've levelled this, I've made this observation in the past that unfortunately our policing in this country seems to be reactionary, and it's not the fault of mid-rank Gardaí and regular members. It's the people that make the decisions. They're reacting again rather than being proactive. A bizarre story across many of the papers today. Gardaí are examining, this is the Daily Mail, we'll take it out of, Gardaí are examining if a criminal investigation is necessary after more than €400,000 worth of gold belonging to the National Party was allegedly removed from a vault by two party members. The party leader, Justin Barrett, initially claimed the gold had been stolen and contacted Gardaí in the Dublin 4 region. They posted on their social media saying that they were expelling people from the party and this money had been, this gold had been stolen, and the people who they alleged may have been involved in it had control of the social media and all this kind of stuff. Really bizarre as it unfolded. Once contacted, Gardaí from a nearby district detective unit began to investigate and managed to locate the missing gold, which was then returned to a safe location, according to sources familiar with the incident. In a statement, Mr Barrett accused two men of conspiring together to remove from the party's safe vault in Dublin a considerable quantity in gold, which formed the main part of the party's reserve in the event of a mishap in general, or more particularly a collapse in the value of flat currency. Now, obviously, it's not unusual for political parties to seek donations. It is a little bit strange, particularly for a political party that has no elected representatives, to be able to convert those donations into gold bars and store them in a safe in their offices in Dublin. It really is quite bizarre, perhaps even the makings of a Netflix 3-parter down the line. How do you buy leaflets and canvas and all that kind of stuff with big gold bars? Well, anyway, Mr Barrett wrote, the only safe and secure means of proceeding was to contact the Gardaí. It was, I can assure everyone, an absolute last resort to secure the vaults from the removal to God knows where of the party's property. The party leader continued, whatever the motive of the two individuals, I can only speculate and might be sued over such speculation, so I shall refrain. I can't string two words together. Maybe I need coffee or something. I don't know. My mouth must be very dry. But anyway, so it's a really bizarre story. I don't know how it's going to play out, but as I say, storing donations in gold, how do you spend it then on whatever you need to spend it on? The Irish Daily Star today, a story which I presume will come as a surprise to some and send an interesting message out. That's the only way I can describe it without for fear of getting into trouble. But a high-profile Irish celebrity charged with defilement of a minor is to have his passport returned to him next month to allow him travel overseas for 2 weeks. The man in his 40s, who cannot be named for legal reasons, is accused of 3 charges of engaging in sexual acts with a child under the age of 17 in Dublin on dates between 2010 and early 2011. The man, who denies all charges against him, is to face a trial which is due to begin on October 9th and is expected to last 5 days. The court previously heard the complainant is now in her late 20s. In a bail variation application at Dublin Circuit Criminal Court yesterday, defence barrister Ian Woodland said the application is for the return of the accused's passport for August 3rd to August 17th. So this person, who is widely known, I think, but on governed media like this, names can't be mentioned, of course, but this person is widely known. He has been given his passport back to go on holidays in August for 2 weeks, but is facing trial in October for the defilement of a child. It's, as I say, I would say that those that are affected by that, let me put it like that, will be saying, how can such a thing happen? I know people are innocent unproven otherwise, but that being said, it does seem a little bit bizarre to me anyway. The Sun this morning tells us, and this is common sense hopefully now coming to the fore. We talked about this regularly on this show as recently as last Friday, and this is about maybe increasing the role pharmacists might have in healthcare to presumably alleviate pressure on GPs and who's to say maybe even hospitals. Well, new plans to allow pharmacists to prescribe some medicines are being put in place in Ireland. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly says it will be a welcome move for beleaguered GPs, and Donnelly told how pharmacists would receive additional training. He said, "We'll have very significant additional training, specialist training, a regulatory framework in place. We're working closely with the regulator on this, and a task force that we put together is a very serious group of people, very serious." He said this scheme would only be for certain medicines, adding this would only be done with the pharmacists as part of a multidisciplinary team. And there's lots of little things, and you know them yourself. I don't have to give examples that you're looking for script for, that hopefully the pharmacist may be able to prescribe. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror this morning, grocery inflation rose by 14.7% in the 12 weeks to July 9 compared with the same period last year. You know, we could be easily hoodwinked into thinking that, you know, oh, milk's come down, bread's coming down, everything's moving in the right direction. But no, 14.7% increase in the cost of your groceries year on year. That's huge. That really is huge. The latest data, which was released by market analyst Kantar, also showed consumers visiting shops more frequently compared with last year. But despite inflation continuing to rise, it was down from last month's figure of 15.8% and the lowest it's been all year. But listen, any fall in inflation, it's hard to welcome a fall in inflation from 15.8% to 14.7% when really what it means is your stuff is still going up by 14.7%. Emer Healy, Business Development Director of Kantar, said this is the second month in a row there has been a drop in inflation, which is welcome news for shoppers. But we need to see deflation, or we need to see at least inflation running around about 2 or 3%, 14.7% for food, which we need to sustain ourselves and to feed our families, is way, 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 way too high. I don't know why clear savings that they're getting at wholesale level are not being passed down to the consumer. All right, that's a run through of what's making the papers today.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
The 8th annual Letterkenny Busking Festival is on Saturday the 29th of July, with musicians and singers performing all along the main street from 1:30 to 3. It's an afternoon of great street entertainment. That's the Letterkenny Busking Festival on Saturday the 29th of July. Come along and join in the fun. See Letterkenny Busking Festival on Facebook for more details.
Looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan for your dream kitchen, bedroom or bathroom? At B&S Credit Union, we are here to help. Renovate loans from €5,000 to €70,000. Visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team are delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Juke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
Okay, the time is just approaching 20 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by Neil Ford, PRO of the Irish Deer Society. Good morning, Neil. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners.
No, it's very good to have you. It's very good to have you with us. Okay, so there has been some commentary locally about deer and the deer population, and we'll work through some of that and also talk about the cull and what impact that might be having. But it was stated here on this programme and elsewhere by a local councillor, Michael McClafferty, that TB's on the rise in his area, maybe in Donegal, and this is down to deer are to blame. So, I mean, is that the case?
Well, it's not borne out by any research that's been carried out. There was a study made of deer in Sligo just a few years ago, and they found no incidence of TB in the deer at all. There is TB in the herd in Wicklow. One of the reasons why that may be prominent there, why it is more likely to be seen there, is due to the density of deer in Wicklow, which is approaching areas in Europe where you have a similar issue, where the very high density of deer, there is an incidence of TB in the deer. But even then, it's very, very low. It's I just had a look at the figures there yesterday. It's 0.7% of the deer are showing signs of TB. That, of course, is the deer that have been culled. So, we don't know the overall figure.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's encouraging. Also, there was some claims that Lyme disease, deer are responsible for Lyme disease. I hadn't heard this before. I mean, normally it's ticks that I hear it of, but maybe it's ticks being transported on deer. I don't know. But what's your information in that regard?
Well, you get certain parts of the country. I live here in County Waterford, and I shoot deer on a number of farms and woodland just close by, and there's no ticks on the deer at all. But I have shooting up in the Knockmealdown Mountains, which is about 15, 20 miles away, and they're heavily infested with ticks. So you'd always be cautious there with regards to getting a tick on you or getting a tick on one of the dogs. Now, of course, it's the ticks that carry the Lyme disease, not the deer. So you'll get ticks on sheep, you'll get ticks on cattle, you'll get ticks on dogs and cats. So really the thing is to be cautious. One of the reasons for the rise in Lyme disease is because we now recognize it. For many years, people didn't know what it was. And it was put down to brucellosis, flus, persistent flu, and in some cases it doesn't emerge until many years after the infection has occurred. So if you do get bitten by a tick, this is the advice I would give anybody. There are better qualified people than me to give the advice, but what I would watch straight away for what we call the bullseye mark at the location of the tick bite and get treatment immediately, because doctors are reluctant to give you antibiotics for it, but you should really have it attacked straight away. The longer it's left, the more likely you have to have a problem.
Yeah, and it's something we discuss an awful lot on this programme, and you have to be strongly advocate on your own behalf if you have any concerns as it relates to potential Lyme disease. Also, there were calls for the culling early of stags. And also, well, actually, do you know what? Rather than just go through bit by bit, let's talk generally speaking. We still don't know. We still don't have a census of how many deer we have, do we? I mean, we have anecdotal, there's loads of them, there's this, that and done, but we still actually really don't know how many deer we have, which I think is a remarkable position to find ourselves in.
Yeah, we have no real idea how many deer we have in the country. We haven't even a rough idea. The UK thinks that the population there has risen from 1.1 million to 2 million in the period during COVID due to an absence of any culling at all. But once you get to a certain position with deer numbers, they expand exponentially in population. And you get to a certain point on that graph, and beyond that, it's nearly impossible to control them. We need to know how many deer we have, and we need to know how many deer we need to cull. So you see figures of, I saw one politician stating a figure of 70% of the deer should be culled. Well, 70% of what? We don't know what the numbers are. How do we know when we cull 70%? And there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, because if you look at a farmer with a large dairy herd, he does have to take out some of the older cows. He's got to sell them on. He's got to bring on young stock. He doesn't keep all his young stock. He sells some of it. We won't go into what happens to the male calves, but that's been well covered over the last week or so. But it's managed, and that's what we need to do with the deer herd. We need to manage the deer herd properly, and we haven't done that. And everybody is to blame. You can't say, as a stalker, I can't say it's Quilter or it's the government or whoever. It's everybody. Stalkers themselves are more inclined. They all right, they're paying money to shoot on Quilter land. They want to shoot a buck. They want to shoot a stag. They want to shoot something big that they can bring home and say, look what I've done. When in actual fact, we should be shooting does. We should be shooting the young bucks. We should be taking out quite a large number of the young bucks.
Should we be removing the sport out of it? I mean, you know, should we be removing the sport out of it? I mean, should this not be something that is done in an incredibly organised way? I mean, we've had tens of thousands of deer culled, but we don't really know if it's the right deer, what type of deer, what impact that might have. And people are out doing it for recreation as well, as sport. So do we not need to look at this and say, right, properly plan it out and do it in a more organised fashion?
Well, at the moment, there's very intensive discussions going on, led by Teddy Cashman of the IFA, into a deer management forum when we're looking at all of these issues, looking at all the various issues of whether there are sufficient stalkers, whether we need professional stalkers, how we should proceed, what we need to do. Immediately, the most immediate result before that forum comes to any conclusions is stalkers on the ground need to shoot more does. And one of the ways for the local farming community to help themselves is to form deer management units or farming clusters, because you've got different types of stalker. You've got the really serious guy that will put effort into it. And then you've got the butterfly stalker who go from farm to farm and just shoot the odd deer here and there during the season, and he's happy. And you want somebody who's going to do the job. And for that to happen, you get a group of farmers in an area, identify how many deer you have, get a cull plan in place, and tell that stalker, we want you to shoot 1 buck and 10 does, or 3 bucks and 30 does. And if you can't do it, we'll get somebody else.
There are other factors here, though, at play, isn't there? It's not simply just how and where they're culled. It's how they're managed, not just how they're managed, but how the environment that they live in is managed.
Yeah, there's if you can't see them, you can't shoot them, and you can't count them. So what happened in the UK, we're unfortunately repeating what they've done in the UK here. They had big blocks of forestry. They were right to the boundaries of the next door neighbour, if you like. There was no such thing as a deer lawn or little inserts or little areas that you could leave in the wood to allow a stalker to control deer in that forestry. And once deer find they're not under any pressure, well, that's where they're going to go. And we need to redesign how we do forestry. There are farmers, and that's up to them, but they don't want any shooting on their land, maybe for ethical reasons, whatever the reason. But what I would say to those individuals, there are people who you can bring in just for a very brief period to cull deer on your land. But it isn't fair on your neighbours if you allow large populations of deer to have a sanctuary, if you like, on your property. So
we have thousands of deer culled. Is it 2,000, just shy of 2,000 in Donegal in the last 12 months? We don't really know, do we? If the truth be told, we don't really know if that will have any impact whatsoever on population numbers. We don't know
well,
what.
If most of them are bucks, and I suspect not bucks but stags.
In other words, with the antlers, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, mainly red. Yeah, mainly red deer. Stags in red, bucks in seeker and fallow. And if you're shooting mainly bucks, you're not. Or the males. Let's leave it at males. If you're just shooting males, you are not going to affect the population at all.
Because you only need one male, presumably, to impregnate many, many does.
Up to 50 does, yeah. Whereas if you have 50 males and 50 does, you'll still have the same number of fawns at the end of the year. So we really have to concentrate on the does, but in a humane and ethical manner.
See, that's why I don't see anything humane or ethical about people shooting these animals for sport from a distance. Maybe not shooting them in the right area, maybe injuring them and then moving forward to finish the job. It just doesn't seem to me to be why don't we, as I say, sorry, but to repeat myself, in an organised fashion with professionals in a regulated way that we know is fair and as fair as is possible when you're taking the life of a big creature like this. And again, even maybe supplementing the food chain or making industry out of it or something. I mean, they're there. I think most people, 80% of people, realise that we have to control these numbers. It's just the idea of people going out, instead of going out for a game of golf, going out to shoot these animals, and there's no real oversight as we don't know which of the animals they're shooting. That's just haphazard to me. It doesn't seem right.
Well, it's that's a whole new debate about whether or not people should be stalking deer at all. But at the moment, that is the only method we have. There are no other methods available to control the numbers. Now, as you say, you could bring in an expert, but an expert has to learn. And that's the problem. When a surgeon does an operation, first couple of times, maybe he kills the patient. So that's
yeah, but I mean, at the very least, if we're giving people licenses to do this, okay, and but 1,900 deer are shot in Donegal, do we have no documentation where that person? Obviously, they return the figures because we have an overall amount. That they give us a breakdown of what they shot and where. I mean, do we even have access to that information? Because me and you were speculating here at the moment. It feels like that anyway.
Yeah, every stalker with a license has to make a return at the end of the year. Now, how honest they are with regards to that return or how accurate they are, that's down to the individual. I don't see any follow-up by the department at any stage to audit a stalker. So I think there's definitely room for improvement there. The other side of it then is where we have introduced a training system that was done voluntarily first, and now it has become compulsory for a new permit holder to have carried out a training scheme under, there's 3 bodies doing it, and it's referred to the Hunter Competency Assessment Program. And that particular training scheme looks at their accuracy, how accurate are they, how good a shot they are, teaches them about safety of shooting, teaches them about the deer, and teaches them about the risks. And at that level, we see they can shoot. Once we can see they can shoot, can they shoot a deer? A lot of people, there's a thing referred to as buck fever, where people get the shakes when they get a deer in front of them. But they're likely to miss it altogether when that's the case.
Okay. Thanks very much for that, Neil. Again, it's a conversation we need to have, and some, it needs to be done at the highest levels as well to come up with some sort of a proper solution. But I think you wanted to make sure too that if information is being put out into the public domain, that it's on the money, so to speak.
There will be more information coming in the future now once this Deer Management Forum has completed its work. So okay. I would hope that the public will be educated further on in that case.
We'll watch with interest. That is Neil Ford, PRO of the Irish Deer Society. A couple of quick comments coming in. Tag deer that go for the abattoirs for processing to get a real idea of numbers and to stop poaching. Another, far too many deer causing a lot of accidents on the roads, and they are breeding and getting more plentiful indeed, which it makes it more important that if we are culling them and if we are doing it in the fashion in which we are now, that we make sure it's the right deer, does. That's how you control it. There's no point, as we heard from Neil there, if you've got 50 stags and 50 does and you shoot 49 stags, you're still going to have the same amount of calves from the does, so you have to manage that in a certain way. So unfortunately, it's an awful thing I feel it's an awful thing to say it's the does you have to go for, because it's they that birth.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Harkins have been providing customers with quality fireplaces, stoves and electric fires for over 30 years. And now you can experience the elegance of luxurious worktop from Harkins. Their experienced craftsmen can fabricate marble, quartz or granite worktops to your specification. So, if you're planning a new kitchen or bathroom or upgrading your existing one, Harkin Fireplaces can provide a quote for your quartz, marble or granite worktop. Visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford or call 9141109 or visit them online at harkinfireplaces.ie.
Most people say that Donegal is the coolest place on the planet, but up here we know that sometimes it can be the coldest. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet is the one-stop shop for all your heating needs. We have a huge range of multi-fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, spare parts for all major stove and range brands, plumbing and bathroom ware, all at exceptional prices. So visit our showrooms where our friendly and experienced team will be ready to help you. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet and the stovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Buncrana should attend the clinic in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday 24th and Tuesday 25th of July, and donors from Carndonagh should attend the clinic in the community school in Carndonagh on Wednesday 26th and Thursday 27th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Attention all local businesses and advertisers. Are you ready to take your brand to new heights? Introducing Highland Radio's digital packages, your one-stop solution for maximum exposure.
Picture this. Stunning, high-quality videos showcasing your products or services, reaching thousands of potential customers on Highland Radio's popular social media channels. Not only that, your brand can shine on highlandradio.com with our web advertising. We've got the audience, reach and expertise to help your brand grow.
Dominate the digital landscape with Highland Radio's expert team by your side. Call us on 074 9125 322 or email advertising at highlandradio.com for more information.
Now, we have on the programme Sinead. Sinead, thanks so much for joining us this morning on what must be an incredibly difficult time for you.
Yes, yeah, it is.
All right, Sinead, your partner, Greg, from Galway. You're both from Galway up visiting this part of the world?
No, I'm from Liverpool.
Right.
Greg's from Galway, but he lives in Liverpool. And we stayed in Galway for a few nights, and then we've been in Fanad. We got to Fanad on Saturday, and then we were due to leave yesterday, but obviously we're still here.
And tell us when you last seen Greg King. We have a picture of him for those watching the stream. There's a picture of him here, and we want everyone to have a look at that picture or go to our website and have a close look at that picture. He's distinctive enough looking because he is missing, and that's the purpose of this conversation. But just have a look at that image and see, and just search your mind to see if you've seen Greg recently. When was the last time you seen him, and what was the nature of his disappearance?
The last time I saw him, we'd been in the Fanad Lodge on Sunday to watch the hurling final, and we'd stayed there for the whole night. So I last saw him it must have been about midnight. I left to go home, and I walked on the road. So the road, when you come out, you walk sort of straight on and then left. Greg had noticed that I'd left. He was still there with my parents, and he came out and rang me and said, he was going to catch up with me. And then we had a conversation for 15 minutes. So as far as I was aware, Greg was behind, which I had no reason to doubt. And then that's the last time I've spoken to him, was on the phone. And then shortly after that, when he didn't come along with half, I realised that something was wrong. And basically I've been looking for him ever since.
Okay, Sinead. And I know this is very difficult for you, but hopefully now we get a positive outcome. Was there anything about Greg on the evening that would indicate that he'd, want to disappear, or anything as you reflect on that might indicate why he might want some time to himself for a period, or anything like that at all?
No, and it's a really important question. But in this instance, absolutely not. I think the thing that really sticks in my mind is important to remember is the reason that Greg left was because he wanted to come and see me, and that's because of the nature of Greg. He is like a very caring person, and he will have left to come and catch me up because he has been worried about me walking on that road by myself. Even though I was completely comfortable with it, that was why he left, was to come and see me, and he told me that when I spoke to him, that he was going to come and catch up with me. So yeah, I've got absolutely no reason to believe that there would have been any other reason for it other than that.
And in terms of his mobile phone, does he have a mobile phone? Did it, or does it continue to ring? Is there any possibility of, using something like Find My Phone or anything like that there? Presumably it would be with him if he has one.
Yeah, so basically, Greg doesn't have an iPhone, and his phone doesn't have Find My Phone on it. And unfortunately, one of the other really alarming things is that after I'd spoken to Greg, I wasn't able to get hold of him. So I spoke to him initially for those 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I phoned him again, but for the duration of that call, his phone must have been in his pocket because there was sort of like the key tones of the phone. So it sounded like he was running, which made sense to me because Greg was like an athletic. He's a fit man. So that would make perfect sense to me that Greg would have been running on the road behind me to catch up.
Okay. So it's an Android phone he has, Sinead, isn't it?
Yeah,
right. But
it's called an Oppo phone.
Yeah, but you do know if it's linked to if it's linked to a Google account, you can sign in if you were able to sign into his Google, and it can still identify when it was last pinging. So hopefully the authorities are looking into that as well. It's not a specific app, but
they are.
Okay, excellent. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, they are looking into it.
And as you say, he's healthy and fit, and there was no reason as to why he might go missing, and he has been missing now for quite some time. So. What do you think has happened? Do you think he strayed off the road, or he might have become confused, or what, Sinead? Because there's no clear indication as to what might or could have happened to him.
Yeah, and I think another really alarming thing about it is even though Greg hasn't been to this part many times, that very day we'd walked to Sanavolti Church to go to Mass. We'd walked back, so both of them, was in that route past the Fanad Lodge. So we'd done that twice together, and then we also walked to the Fanad Lodge together. So he'd walked that path 3 times on that day, and he has a really good sort of like sense of navigation in general. So that's just like, so the difficulty I've got is I don't know where he's gone. Now, when I spoke to him on the 15-minute phone call, he did say to me, which stuck out to me at the time, he said that he was in a field. So, of course, I said to him, why are you in a field? It's a road. Like, you don't need to be in the field, you need to be on the road. And pretty quickly he then said to me that he was on the road. Now, looking back on that, I don't know if Greg was just saying that to humour me because he probably didn't want me to just keep going on about, Greg got on the road or make a fuss and, come back or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably.
But even if he did stray off, the road and became lost, you would hope that once daylight broke, because of who he is and his health and everything, that he'd very quickly, get his coordinations about him and then get home.
Yeah, No, I mean, obviously the sort of, as the time's gone on, at first I thought, although I did have the initial thought that something had happened because, I went out looking for him straight away. My parents' friend who drove them home from Donegal Gardai, so there was a very small window where I hadn't spoken to Greg before I was out looking for him. It was probably, I would say, maybe like 20 minutes to 30 minutes at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brendan drove me and we went for a search. So that's another thing is, like, I know he wasn't on the road at that time because we looked everywhere. So it's just really difficult to sort of to know where he was. What we do know is there is CCTV on the road that leads to where we were staying.
Yeah.
Now on that CCTV, you see me walking past, and then you see Brendan driving my parents there, but you don't see Greg. So I know for a fact that he didn't go. So I know with certainty that he was not on the road that he should have been on.
Right, so he did not take that path he'd trod before. He did not go in the direction to the accommodation.
No.
Do you...
No.
Do you don't... I mean, is there any part of you that suspects foul play here, Sinead?
Foul play is in...
That some harm came to him, that...
No, I mean, again...
A third party might be involved, or...
No, because, like, you obviously in this situation, you just rack your brains. And to be honest, the only thing that I thought could have been a possibility when I was going through every single scenario is, has he been hit by a car? That was the thing I was worried about. But there's absolutely no trace of that. And also, I didn't see any cars on the road when I was walking.
Yes.
And then when I went out with Brandon to look, I think we only saw maybe one car that whole time.
Yeah.
So no, in terms of foul play, I mean, I just can't. I couldn't even. It's not something I've even considered because, for a start, he doesn't know anyone here.
Understood. Now, Sinead, we were on to the Gardaí nationally, and this is not. They have not claimed that they're not stating this as a missing persons. They say that they haven't been notified of it. Now, on Garda Síochána from Dublin would issue maybe 3-4 missing persons appeals a day. Do you know why that might be, and what are all resources that normally are available in a missing persons case? I.e., the Rescue 118 helicopter, whatever mountain rescues or whatever is applicable. Are all of those are all those services actively seeking out Greg King at the moment?
Yeah. So I mean that I didn't know that he's not been listed for a missing person. That's not. I mean, I'll have to pick that up after.
Please do, because just on the off chance he got confused with this in Galway, I mean, I know for a fact Galway Bay FM would be running this story if they were given it, and you just never know. That's why, Sinead, I was a little bit concerned when the guards didn't state he was a missing person. So maybe just follow that up.
I mean, I would. I don't know how it works here, but I think in England it's like after 24 hours. But I will follow it up with them because that's really important. But in terms of resources, yes. So last night we've had the helicopter out. This morning, like from 6:30, we've had Irish Coast Guard.
Okay, very good.
The guards have been here. Like I do feel like that at the moment the resources are being used, and the only thing I really must say is the local people have really rallied behind us.
Yeah.
And it's been really special, and it's been so appreciated by me and Greg's family. It's just been unbelievable. Everyone has helped us, and we just desperate for people to keep helping us with the search.
Check land, check out buildings. If you've got a drone, get it up. Just keep your and it could be over a distance as well, not just in that local area. Sinead, most times there's a positive outcome to missing persons. I hope it's the case in your case, and that you and Greg are reunited really, really soon. I appreciate, in very difficult circumstances, you helping us to get the message out here across the Northwest. And we, as I say, we've got the image on our social media, on our website, and the image is also on this live stream that we have of the show. So hopefully people have a look at that picture, and if they've spotted him anywhere, to get in contact with Gardaí straight away. Our fingers are crossed, Sinead, and I really hope there's a positive outcome to this. And you're incredibly brave to be able to speak publicly and at this very, very difficult time. So we're thinking on you, all right, and we just hope there's a really positive outcome soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, Sinead, let us know if there's anything further we can do, will you? Okay, Sinead there. John McAteer is editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune. Heartbreaking story there, John, and it's a mystery, particularly considering that Greg didn't take the route that Sinead was expected him to. They had that long conversation, 15 minutes on the phone. He said he was in a field, and then he said he was on the road, which has led Sinead to believe that, you know, maybe he had strayed off the beaten path. And was just saying he was on the road to reassure her. But what else can you add, John? And talk to us about the search and where the search might be taking place, and I suppose the lay of the land. Sorry, John, just unmute there. I beg your pardon, John. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, just waiting for John to unmute there, and then we'll get his commentary. There you go, John. Yeah, thanks very much for that. No, it's muted again on us. No, go ahead, John. Yep.
Yep. The lay of the land there is a well-known road across Trialoch beside the football pitches there in Kinnaloch. Anybody on the road to Fannet Head Lighthouse, it is one of the better known roads in Dublin, or in this part of the world. It is also sort of almost a straight line from where they left the Fannet Lodge to where they were staying. It would have been very hard to sort of go off the beaten track. But then if you weren't familiar with the area and it was dark at night, there are different permutations. You could have turned left, which would have taken you towards Tamney, Rosnakill. Down at the junction where he would have went towards, we would have expected, there's another road that goes off towards Tunban and towards a different part of the country. He would have been taking the road directly across Trialoch. A lot of sand dunes on one side. There's a Neilburn caravan park there. There's access to the beach there. And further on again, past the community centre and the football grounds, there's another access road. There are several access roads if you straight off. The fact that they were talking together and that she presumed that he was probably 5 minutes behind her was probably reassuring Sinead that everything was fine, because they often went walking together. They had a passion for walking, and he was a very fit man. And it's just mystifying, and it's just total mystery, because I was down there at the Fannet Lodge last night at midnight, and the numbers of people there who had just come back from searching, the local people, huge numbers of them, the emergency service, the Gardaí, and the whole lot of them, and especially a big group of people on quads who know the terrain. They had searched high up and low down all evening and came up with nothing. The Gardaí had shot out the CCTV leads, the one at the day centre at Trialoch. He would have been about more than a third of the way home at that point. But as she said there, the CCTV picks her up, but he never materialised. So he was obviously not on that road, or else he had strayed off it.
Is there an obvious? Would you expect, given the resources that have been thrown at this so far, if he had strayed off the road, and given the local knowledge of those involved in the search, would you have expected him to have been found at this point, or does it not surprise you that, given how much land there is to cover, I suppose, that he still hasn't been found?
I would have to confess that I'd be worried at this point that he hasn't been found, because there was a pretty big search coordinated there yesterday by local people. The emergency services are out for the last numbers of hours. They're waiting for the rescue helicopter to sweep the area again, as it did last night. It's sparsely populated. There aren't many places that you would go. There aren't many farmyards or sheds or outhouses on that road. Mm-hmm. I mean, people will know that road very, very well. It's pretty close to Rinmore Beach and Ballyhiernan. and there's that strip of grazing and the sand dunes. Now, whether he ended up down there, whether he took a different route, CCTV footage at Tamney has been checked. There's no sign of him there. And, you know, you're well in now to 36 hours. He was wearing a T-shirt and running shorts. Weather conditions would be a concern at night, because I would have been out walking on Sunday night just around that time myself, and the sharp northerly breeze in it. And hopefully, as you said there to Sinead, that all will end well and that they can be reunited. But with every passing hour, fears continue to mount and grow, and concerns about his whereabouts. But there's a major search on there today. All of the emergency services have thrown their full might at it. And let us hope that throughout the day that something will emerge, that they will find him. It's as simple as just hoping for the best at this point, really.
John, as always, thank you so much, and thanks for your insight there. I really do appreciate it. That's John McAteer of the Tyrconnell Tribune. And we just, as I say, we just hope that Greg King is found safe and well as soon as is possible. He was last seen at midnight, that Sunday night, Monday morning, in the Trealoch area of Fanad, and they're appealing for anyone who's in that area. If you've got an outhouse, maybe he sought shelter there. He could have took a knock to the head and is disorientated. You know what I mean? So there's loads of options, but this is a critical period of time now for everyone, if they have the ability or they're in that area, to have a look to see if they can find Greg on their property or in their sheds or outhouses or whatever it might be. And of course, he may have gone further afield. That can't be ruled out either. His picture, as I say, is on the stream as we speak right now, but it's also available on our social media and our website. And I just really hope, as I say, that Greg and Sinead are reunited shortly. Okay, we are going to take a break for the news and the obituary notices. After that, it's Community Garda information.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanising these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Kia. With the Kia Ceed petrol and diesel, the Sportage in hybrid, plug-in hybrid and diesel, and the award-winning car of the year, the EV6 all-electric. All available for immediate delivery. Call into iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Malin RNLI is thrilled to announce its upcoming 30th anniversary celebration on Sunday, July 30th. The organisers have planned a remarkable day of fundraising events that everyone can enjoy, with the Tower to Town 16k Walker Run Challenge, a 5k runner walk, raft and kayak race, music on the green, and the OR118 Coast Guard helicopter display. Malin RNLI cordially invites everyone to join in the festivities and support this momentous milestone. This ad is kindly sponsored by Forward Emphasis Malin.
Do you want the very best for your pet? At Gary's Pet World Letterkenny, we offer fantastic value on all your pet foods, accessories, grooming and pet care products. We cater for cats, dogs, rabbits, birds and fish, and open 7 days per week at Letterkenny Retail Park. Or you can browse and buy 24/7 at petworld.ie and we will deliver to your home. Treat your pet with a visit to Gary's Pet World. It's what they deserve.
It's the home of the vegan butchers, the artisan bakers, the freestyle lyricists, and the trouser suit striders. It's the urban jungle, where the everyday meets the latest wave. And you could see it all from your Seat SUV. From the sharp lines and smart style of the Arona to the bold and beautiful Ateca. And if size is your thing, the Tarraco comes as a 7-seater. See what's in store at seat.ie for our latest offers. And visit DMG Motors, Clough Road, Donegal Town. Because your new Seat is just waiting to see what's next.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Nutrius Winling Crunch is now on offer at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winling Crunch ATP, get one free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. Contact your local Homeland store or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €50 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Jesus, you'd never guess who's 50 years of age. Seamus McLaughlin from iMotors. All your staff would like to wish you a big happy birthday to our wee Shamey.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Searches are being carried out in Fanad after a Galway man went missing. Greg King was visiting the area with friends and was last seen at midnight on Sunday. People are being asked to check their land and any outbuildings. In a social media post, a friend of Greg's says they're all very worried as it's out of character for him to go missing. His partner Sinead spoke to Greg Hughes on this morning's 9 till noon show. She said they'd been in the Fanad Lodge together all day on Sunday, but she had left just before him.
It must have been about 1:45. I left to go home and I walked on the road. So the road, when you come out, you walk sort of straight on and then left. Greg had noticed that I'd left. He was still there with my parents and he came out and rang me and said, you know, he was going to catch up with me. And then we had a conversation for 15 minutes. That's the last time I've spoken to him, was on the phone. And then shortly after that, when he didn't come along with half, I realised that something was wrong. And basically, I've been looking for him ever since.
Government ministers are hearing this morning about the recommendations of the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review. The draft report includes proposals for the restoration of a rail link between Letterkenny and Derry. Among the 30 recommendations in the report, which will be outlined this morning by the Transport Minister Eamon Ryan, are more electrification of the network and services at least 2 hours between main urban centres and hourly between main cities. As he went into the meeting, Minister Ryan said he would like to see a rail network return to the northwest. He acknowledged the country has left its rail network lapse for too long.
It's long term. It's where we want to go to bring back rail. Early parts of the last century, we probably had the best rail network in the world. We've let it lapse. We've lost lines. We've given up on rail freight. We don't have connection to the northwest. And what the report says is we bring back rail. We bring back rail as a way of getting better balanced regional development, particularly to Donegal.
Cabinet is expected to sign off on financial assistance for businesses in Raphoe and Castlefin today, which were affected by flash floods on Saturday. Proposals are coming before Cabinet this morning to reopen the Business Enterprise Fund. Support is available for homeowners through the Department of Social Protection's Assistance Fund. Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue says he agrees with calls for flood relief schemes in Raphoe and Castlefin to be expedited.
I know there has been plans put in place by the OPW working with the County Council, but it's important that those happen as quickly as possible. There's been ongoing flooding issues over many, many years in both those towns, in particular both Castlefin and Raphoe, as well as many others, but there is particular proposals which can actually alleviate the problems in Castlefin and Raphoe, and it's important that those are expedited. And I know coming out of the meeting of the County Council yesterday that every effort is going to be made by the County Council working with the OPW.
A Donegal man is to be sentenced today after being found guilty of the rape and sexual abuse of his young daughter. 55-year-old Michael Carter of Kinnigo Ballymagan, Buncrana, was found guilty last month on 1 count of rape and 25 counts of sexual assault when his daughter was aged between 9 and 12 between June 2010 and June 2014. His daughter, 22-year-old Karen Harkin, has waived her right to anonymity. She said in her victim impact statement she will no longer imprison herself in feelings of guilt and shame that are not mine to carry. Heather Laurie has more.
The court was told that Karen Harkin's parents were separated and the abuse occurred when she visited her father's rented home. Reading her victim impact statement, Miss Harkin said blaming herself was a way she coped. She said it seemed easier because having to accept the fact that my father chose to do this to me is too hard, too painful, too difficult to understand. The court heard that Michael Carter does not accept the verdict of the jury and maintains his innocence. Miss Harkin also expressed hope that speaking out will help reduce the stigma that this abuse carries with it. Miss Justice Karen O'Connor adjourned the case to today when she will finalise the sentence.
More details on our website, highlandradio.com. And RTE has rejected reports that the second Grant Thornton report into the understatement of payments of the broadcaster has been completed. In a statement this morning, it says the report process is still underway, adding it's not received a copy of the report, nor has it been briefed on its findings at this point. The Irish Independent had reported today the report was ready, but hadn't yet been handed to Media Minister Catherine Martin. And the Irish Independent's Ireland editor Fionn Sheehan stands over his story.
I am told by very reliable government sources, unlike people in RTE who have proved utterly unreliable throughout this process, that report is finished. So I'll beg to differ with the RTE board on this one.
Well, the forecast and Met Éireann tell us to expect a good deal of dry weather today with sunny spells this morning. It will become cloudy this afternoon, though, with some showers possible. Top temperatures today, 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice is for this Tuesday morning, July the 25th. The death has taken place of Jim Muldoon, Strana Corcra, Derrybeg. His remains will repose at his home from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Rosary at 8 o'clock. House private after the rosary until 11 o'clock. Removal to St Mary's Chapel, Derrybeg tomorrow evening for 7 o'clock to repose overnight. Funeral Mass on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg. Interment afterwards in Maharagan Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Down Syndrome Ireland. The death has occurred of Sheila McGlinchey, 8A Clunwara, Buncrana. Sheila's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Dan Cullen, Glasgow, and Devlin Ray, Carrigard. His remains will arrive at the Church of St John the Baptist this evening at approximately 6 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Henry Doherty, Convent Road, Carndonagh. Remains reposing at his late home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Colin McLaughlin, Hatter, Priesttown, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:30, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has occurred of Mary Connor, née McCarroll, formerly Mary Rodden, 5 Pinegrove, Rathbone Road, Castlebar, and formerly of Drimnagh, Creeslaw, County Donegal, and the UK. Mary will repose at Kilcoyne's funeral home at Thomas Street, Castlebar, tomorrow evening from 6:30 until 7:45. The funeral will arrive at the Church of the Holy Rosary, Castlebar, on Thursday for a funeral mass at 11 o'clock. The funeral will arrive at Shannon Crematorium for service at 3 o'clock. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchtv.ie. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desire to COPD or the Cancer Ward, Mayo University Hospital, care of Kilcoyne Funeral Directors, Castlebar. The death has taken place of Eddie Young, Kilgole, Ardra. reposing at the family home today with family time from 10 o'clock. Funeral service at his home tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, with interment afterwards at Ardra Church of Ireland graveyard at 2 o'clock. Family flowers only, with donations if desired, in lieu of flowers to the Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Tommy Cunningham, 46 Glen Road, Strabane, reposing at the family home from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from the family home tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Mary's Church, Melmount. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of William McLucas, Ishkaheen Muff, County Donegal. His remains will be reposing in his home today from 12 noon until 6 o'clock. House private at all other times. Funeral service in Greenbank Presbyterian Church tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining burying ground. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if wished to Greenbank Presbyterian Church, care of Mrs Sylvia McCann, Windy Hill, 3 Trees, Quigley's Point, County Donegal. The death has taken place of Marie Hickey, Nick Campbell, Strand Road, Bombay, originally of Carrickmacross, County Monaghan. Her remains are reposing at Roshi's Funeral Home, Derrybeg, until 8 o'clock tonight. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 12 noon in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg. Her interment and the interment of her son David's ashes will take place in Maharagan Cemetery after the funeral Mass. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Donegal Hospice. The death has taken place of Mildred Nesbitt, Tardrum, Greencastle. Mildred's remains are reposing at Liam Collins' funeral premises. Funeral service will take place this afternoon at 2 o'clock in Millville Presbyterian Church, Glencroe, followed by burial in the family plot at St Finian's Church of Ireland, Drumawere, Greencastle. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the High Support Unit, St Columkill Village, Clonmany, care of Anne Doherty. The death has occurred of John McGonigal, 3 Westview Terrace, Cy Mills, reposing at the family home. Funeral from the family home this afternoon at 1:30 for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock in St Teresa's Church, Cy Mills. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desire to the Foyle Hospice, care of any family member. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. And the death has occurred of Bridget Heron, 30 Glendale Drive, Letterkenny, and formerly Brina Glenswilly, reposing at her daughter Noreen and son-in-law Noel McDavid's residence, Cabra. Funeral Mass at 11 o'clock this morning in St Columbus Church, Glenswilly. The Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Burial afterwards in Kilfeek Cemetery in the family plot. Family time before the funeral this morning, please. Family flowers only. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Electric picnic tickets are sold out. Or are they? Every week in Aldi, be in with a chance to win your weekly shop and electric picnic tickets. Just spend €25 or more in Aldi. Take a photo of your receipt and upload it to aldi.ie/electric picnic. Imagine one moment you're strolling through Aldi, the next you're singing your heart out. So pitch up in Aldi to win big. Aldi, every day amazing. 18 plus only. Ends August 20th. Excludes alcohol. Prices and full T's and C's at aldi.ie/electric picnic.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you have just joined us. Talking an awful lot about weather as of late and just some information popping up as it relates to Lake Garda. And the reason that's lots of people listening either were at Lake Garda in Italy themselves or their children have been over there. And just for those of you, if you're watching it, and listen, I mean, obviously we're a radio show here, but we do stream the show daily as well. And there are quite a number of you watching. So just throwing up some images here from our friend Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather of they had. You want to see the size of the hailstones that fell over at Lake Garda. Cars smashed into bits, windscreens and everything gone. Plastic chairs, golf ball size, even bigger sized hailstones going through the seats. An awful situation there. It has to be said. As I say, Lake Garda, familiar to an awful lot of people out there listening today. I'll just throw up another image here of screen for weather. Oops, had the fader up. You got to hear the hailstones hitting the lakes over there. But it's unbelievable stuff, what we're seeing. Some will say, look, it's just normal. That's what you always see. Others will say, I ain't seen nothing like that before in my lifetime. But I wouldn't like to have been under these baseball-sized hailstones. All right, anyway, back to local business here. Deer carry a wider range of tick species than sheep. Sheep are confined and routinely treated for ticks. Deer roam freely and can invade multiple farms overnight, making them huge vectors of tick-related diseases, says a listener. Another, can any of your listeners give me advice on the C-Pen reader? Are they worth the money? I have special needs child and would be interested in buying one to help them read. What is the best one to buy? That comes in from Claire. So I'm not familiar with that, Claire, but obviously those who you're trying to reach with that text will be. Is it that you drag it across the text and it verbalizes what's being read? Anyway, RC Pen readers worth the money, and it's for Claire's special needs child. Interested in buying one? What's the best one? So a bit of recommendation that you cannot beat a human recommendation. So if you can help our listener out there, please get in touch. Now, I want to let you know that a set of keys to a business was lost in the Ballybofey area on Monday between the Bank of Ireland and the bus station. There is a Bank of Ireland key ring and a photo of a person playing football on it. If you found them, we'd really love to get them back to their owner. So it's a set of keys lost in Ballybofey between the Bank of Ireland and the bus station. There's a Bank of Ireland key ring on them and a photo of a person playing football. We have the number of the owner. They're for a business. It'd be great to get them back. If you found them, please get in touch with us. 07491 25,000. I was sent a picture of, I don't want to show it in case it identifies anyone. I don't believe it would. I saw a picture of someone cycling out on the road on the 4 lanes. Now, you would know, effectively, millions has been spent to build cycle lanes because, if the truth be told, there's been 4 lanes there for God knows how long. So, I mean, there's more to it than that, don't get me wrong, but primarily we've kind of been delivered 4 lanes, and there's a fella or a lady cycling up the road, and the listener says, Greg, don't know why the council wasted their money on cycle lanes on the 4 lanes. They're never going to use them, they say. What's wrong with the cycle lanes? I wonder why that person was cycling up the middle of the road. Great to see united front from councillors re the weekend's flooding, but disappointed that one chose to have snide remarks, in my opinion, at fellow councillors. And I'm not sure which councillor you're talking of there. Genuinely, I don't know. Greg, while talking about the crimes in Donegal, you forgot to mention all the cars that have been stolen and used in attempted robberies, and the culprits are, in most cases, not old enough to drive. The guards don't have the time to investigate them properly. Indeed, and sort of part of me at the same time too doesn't want to talk our beautiful part of the world down too much, but you're right, there's been a spate of those types of crimes, but we're not going to see any resources, are we? The additional resources that we clearly do need for on-street Garda presence. Yet again, as soon as it leads the news in Dublin, as soon as it leads the national news, as I predicted to you last Thursday or Friday, straight away, extra guards, extra patrols, high visibility policing presence. And yes, it's our capital too. It's not them and us, it is our capital. But if you don't make the headlines, you don't get the resources, and that just seems to be the bottom line. Okay, let's see. I want to come back to more serious matters after we take the break, but I want to say some happy birthdays now. We love doing happy birthdays, by the way. Weddings, birthdays, people celebrating anything in particular. We love to mix it up a bit here. That's why we have, obviously we have to talk about some really serious stuff, but we try and talk about informative and fun stuff as well. And if we can bring a bit of sunlight into someone's life with a request, we really would love if you send those messages in to us as well. Happy birthday to John McGuinness from Dunlow, from mum and dad, brother Declan, 2 sisters, Mary and Catherine, 2 nephews, Owen and Joel, and 2 nieces, Jessica and Anna. Happy birthday to you, John. Happy birthday, Mary McBride, Granny Feeney from Downings, who's 90 today, from all your family and friends. Fenny or Feeney, my apologies, it's Fennie. But anyway, Mary McBride, You'll know who you are. You're from Downings and you're 90 today. A big happy birthday from all your family and friends and neighbours, I'm sure, and everyone here at Highland Radio. Sophia Bradley is in Stranraer and is 8 today. A big happy birthday to you, Sophia, from Granny Bridget. Have a lovely day. Hopefully Granny Bridget now is dug deep. Hi, Greg. Can you wish my husband, Seamus McLaughlin, Motors, a big happy 50th birthday? Are you 50, Seamus? You don't look a year over 55. Happy birthday to you, Seamus. That's lots of love coming in from Maeve, Killian, Tiernan and Orla, all of your children that Seamus talks about all the time. I know how much he loves them and his whole family. So happy birthday to you, Seamus. And hopefully you're being... I was going to say hopefully you have your feet up there relaxing on your birthday, but some would say... Okay, happy birthday, Seamus. All right, we'll be back with Community Garda information after the break.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, July 25th. You're playing on a brown coloured sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 30. The numbers are 35, 87, the number 2, 26, 67, 84, 24, 19, 55 and 65. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yes, but a Joya apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of acidity. Get some Joya in your favourite store. Eat Joya, taste the joy. And with the Joya contest, you can win an electric car.
Nutriris Intensive Lamb and Nutriris Lamb Crepe Crunch lamb feeds are now on promotion at your local Homeland. Buy 10 bags, get 1 free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. Nutriris Intensive Lamb Feed contains intake booster for higher intakes, better thrive and faster finish. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutriris.ie for full product details.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show on this Tuesday, the 25th of July 2023. It's time for the latest edition of Community Garda information, and in studio with me is Garda Grania Doherty, associated with the Letterkenny Garda station. Grania, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Right, it is a busy morning, so we'll get straight into it. And latest from Garda in relation to that suspected cocaine find on the shores of Donegal, Grania.
Yeah, so Gardaí continue to investigate the circumstances of the discovery of a number of packages along the North Donegal coastline that occurred on Wednesday morning, the 19th of July. These packages are believed to contain cocaine weighing approximately 60 kg with an estimated street value in excess of 4 million, subject to analysis by FSA, that's the Forensic Science of Ireland. So Gardaí in Milford, with the assistance of the Garda Air Support Unit and the Garda Water Unit, along with Revenue's Maritime Unit, they've carried out joint searches up along the North Donegal Fannet Head coastline. Investigations are ongoing, and anybody with any information in relation to the discovery of these packages, we ask them to contact Gardaí in Milford. So the guards in Milford, they're continuing to appeal to landowners in the Fannet Head area with coastal land or any persons who use the North Donegal coastline over the coming days or weeks even to be conscious just of these packages that have been recovered. Anybody who sees any sort of similar package or any marine debris that attracts their attention, they're asked not to interfere with the packages and to contact Garda in Milford on 9153060 or the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111. There's actually another number here too, a Customs Drug Watch confidential number that people can contact, 1800 295 295.
Now, there's been lots of coverage of this Grania as well, some serious, some people having a joke with it. But if there was one package, there was two packages. If there was two, there could be three or four. It's very important that if someone comes across another bundle of this or whatever the contents of it might be, that it has to be, you could get into really quite serious trouble if you were found in possession of that. Like, as I say, I understand that people have sort of tried to have a bit of fun with it, as well as always happens. I'm on about members of the public. But if you do come across this, it's not something you can put in your pocket and take home with you. You could find yourself really facing some very serious charges. This has to be made, the Gardaí have to be made aware, or as you say, the Custom Drugs Watch confidential number, they have to be made aware of anything found.
They have to, of course. So should anybody come across any sort of similar package, the advice is, if possible, and if you have the time, just remain at the spot where you found the package, contact Garda and maybe you can flag them down when they arrive, but under no circumstances open the package, interfere with it or remove it from the area. Yeah, there would be serious consequences in relation to that.
As I say, I know most people know that, all people know that, but just to be really clear, because sometimes, as I say, with the commentary, especially if it was young people hearing, they might not realise the full consequences of being found in possession of that, even if they found it themselves. Okay, right. Garda Milford also investigating a quite serious road traffic collision, Grania.
Yeah, this happened on Saturday the 22nd of July, happened shortly after 3:05pm, so two cars involved. Happened on the N56 just between Termon and Kilmacrenan in the townland of Clonkillimore. So these two cars, they'd been travelling in opposite directions when this collision occurred. The driver and passenger from both cars had to be taken to Letterkenny University Hospital to be treated for injuries. And while some of these injuries they were quite serious in nature, but they're not believed to be life-threatening, thankfully. We appeal to road users with a dash cam in particular who travelled along that stretch of road on the date and time given to make that footage available to us. And if anybody witnessed the collision who has not yet spoken to Garda, I'm aware that a lot of people were spoken to Garda at the scene, but if anybody did witness it, Garda haven't been in contact with them or they haven't made contact with us, please make contact with Garda in Milford on 9153060.
Garda in Letterkenny also appealing for witnesses to a road traffic collision, Grania.
Yeah, this happened at the Oatfield roundabout on Thursday the 20th of July, so between 2:45 and 2:15. So a motorist was travelling from the Oatfield roundabout. They were heading towards the station roundabout. Their car was struck from behind by a white van with a blue logo. The driver of the van didn't remain at the scene, so if anybody witnessed this collision or if they think they might have captured it in their dash cam footage, again, we ask them to make that footage available. Anybody with any information, if anybody witnessed this incident, we ask them to contact us in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
All right, travelling north is shown to another appeal relating to an RTC.
Yeah, this one happened at Ballymagan. So this happened on the R238 at Ballymagan, so it's just past the Cashel-na-Car Resource Centre. That's where the incident happened on Friday the 21st of July. So this happened between 4:20pm and 4:45pm. So the collision happened between a bus and a camper van. The camper van left the scene. It was driven away following the collision in the direction of Umbercam. Damage was caused to the bus as a result of the collision. The wing mirror on the driver's side was smashed. The driver's side window was also smashed. So again, we're appealing to anybody who travelled along that stretch of road, particularly those who had a dash cam, and if anybody witnessed what occurred, contact Garda in Buncrana on 9320540.
And presumably, if you're the driver of the camper van and the crack makes sense, I don't know the circumstances of it, obviously in the best interest to come forward rather than to be inevitably tracked down, I would imagine. Okay, now your colleagues in Letterkenny investigating criminal damage incidents.
Yeah, and this actually happened in broad daylight, so we're hopeful somebody may have information in relation to this one. This happened on Monday, just yesterday, shortly before 1:40pm. So a window of a house in College Park, Letterkenny, was smashed. Two youths were seen running from the scene, one of whom was dressed in dark clothing. So if anybody was in that area, if they observed what happened at the house, or if they seen these two youths on foot leaving that area, We asked them to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167100. Again, as always, every appeal now, we're appealing for dash cam footage. So if anybody was in that area with a dash cam, just drop the footage into us. We'll go through the footage then.
Yeah, and of course, I presume too, dependent on the area, if it's a residential area, your doorbells nowadays and other security camera as well, worth checking them out because we've got decent specific times there. Investigating the theft of a car now in the Letterkenny area.
Yeah, unfortunately this is becoming quite a common appeal every week now. There's hardly a week we haven't got a theft of a car appeal, but Letterkenny Garda again, they're investigating the theft of a white Toyota Corolla estate. So the registration number is 142D 28573. This was stolen from a business premises on the Pierce Road there in Letterkenny between 6 p.m. on Friday the 21st of July. It was then located at 4:25 a.m. on Sunday the 23rd. So it was located on the Creve Road there in Old Town, Letterkenny, on fire. And it was totally burnt out, destroyed as a result of the fire. So if anybody remembers seeing this car in and around Letterkenny being driven at any location between these dates, or if they have any relevant information in relation to the theft of the car or the destruction of it, we ask them to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167100.
And distinctive vehicle, a white Toyota Corolla estate, reg 142D 28573. So it would stand out a little bit. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's do the reminder on these particular vehicles that seem vulnerable. And the reason it's important to remind people is that it's clear that there are people out there that know the vulnerabilities of certain vehicles.
They do, of course. And it just would appear that these types of vehicles are being targeted on a weekly basis now, unfortunately. Imported vehicles and in particular Japanese imported vehicles. So we want to issue security advice. Anybody that owns an imported vehicle, or if they're considering purchasing one, particularly Japanese imports, buyers of these cars or owners of these cars should check out the security features. Make decisions relating to augmenting the security of your vehicle. So many second-hand car imports, they don't have a fully fitted car alarm system, or they're without a fitted immobiliser. This then makes them vulnerable to hot wiring, so cars without an immobiliser, an additional steering wheel lock or chain should be considered to augment the security. If the model has a keyless ignition, it has been proven possible to pick up a signal from the key fob from within the house where it's parked. And as we said already, we have noticed a rise in recent weeks and months in the theft of Japanese imported vehicles in particular within the Letterkenny district. So we're just urging owners just be security conscious and take the necessary steps to ensure that your vehicle is secure.
Yeah, and look at whoever's responsible knows about this. They're clearly very active until such time as they're stopped. It's going to continue because it's happening every single week. So as I say, one of those big steering wheel locks, very visible, big deterrent.
Of course, and listen, if you are the owner of a Japanese imported vehicle or any other imported vehicle that doesn't have these additional security features and you're not sure, how to augment the security, take it into a local garage. Even call to the Garda station. We've plenty of, should say, ladies and men in there, that are well up on cars, and they can come out and advise you, have a look around the car and give you a bit of advice on augmenting the security. There's no issue there.
That's it. All right. Okay. Last appeal, I think, now in relation to the theft of a roher, a bicycle.
A bike, yeah. So this was actually reported yesterday at the station. It's a men's black Apollo Gradient mountain bike. This was stolen from a house at Sala Grey in Letterkenny. So it was stolen between July 14th and July 19th. And I'll post a picture later on of a similar style bike to our Facebook page. So the area in which it was stolen from, it's out around maybe Ballymacool, St Eunan's football pitch, out around that general area. This bike in particular, it has a number of distinguishing features. It has a fluorescent green bracket in front of the spring on the centre frame. The mud flaps are on front and back with a red brake light mounted on the rear mud flap. The light that's mounted, there's a light mounted on the front handlebar. The bell doesn't work, mounted on the left handlebar. The cassette wheel is missing. This is the protective guard in front of the gears. It's next to the pedals. This prevents shoelaces, etc. from getting caught in the chain when you're pedalling. And there's a tear in the middle of the saddle. So we're just urging anybody, look, should you come across a similar type of bike for sale, this bike could have been discarded somewhere, either in a ditch, in a hedge, in an estate somewhere, So if anybody comes across this bike, we're asking them to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167100.
Okay, now, the most recent scams. What has come across your desk, Grania?
Yeah, and listen, there's scams coming out our ears. You know that there's so many different types of scams, but this is actually one that was quite concerning. This lady called the station during the week. She had received a call from a male caller. He proclaimed to be calling on behalf of Aircom. So he provided her with his name. He came across as being very genuine. He inquired about her broadband signal, and it just so happened this lady has got a broadband package with Aircom. So this, of course, then made it seem even more sincere. So he said that he inquired about her broadband signal, and he said that it was poor of late, you know, that they're up their game and they wanted to improve the signal for this lady. So they were going to call out to install new equipment at her home to improve the signal. And this man then informed the lady that she was due a refund of €246 as a way of compensation for the poor signal that she had been receiving. So he then asked for her bank details just to process this refund of $246, and at this stage then alarm bells started to ring with her, and she informed him that she does pay by direct debit. So, you know, she was savvy enough to realise that there's something wrong here. She said, you should have my bank details already. You know, why should I provide them for a second time? At this point then the caller's demeanour changed, and he became quite irate. And the lady in question, really, she wanted to make us aware, just in case others might be caught out, especially if somebody rings and you happen to have a broadband package with Aircom. You know, it's different obviously if you don't have, and it's like these calls that come from Amazon or from any, you know, all these entities that ring you. They say that your broadband package, your signal isn't up to date. You mightn't even have broadband on your house. Of course, then it's evident, then it's obvious, it's a scam. Yeah. But for someone who has a broadband package with the likes of Aircom, they receive this call. She was afraid they'd get caught out. So we just wanted to make people aware, and just maybe as well, if your listeners could advise elderly and vulnerable people, members of their family and friends, in relation to it also.
Yeah, because it's gone on the days where it's a Nigerian cousin or prince that's won the lotto, and you've a share in £10 billion. You know, they don't. It's now, well, we've 246 for you. The same with revenue. They'll go, you know, we've a refund of €73. You think, well, if it's but they only need access to your account to lodge the money, and then they can empty it out.
They do, of course.
So they're getting cute on it. And as you say, they look through who's the most popular internet provider, what are the most common concerns, and that's how they target it. And they only need to do 2 a day successfully, and they make a fortune.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, phone cloning, phone number cloning. This is I would love to see, and I'm not asking you to comment on this, I'd love to see our mobile phone providers take more of an interest and a lead in relation to this, because it's their technology that's being exploited here. But anyway, talk to us about the other calls you've been receiving this week.
Yeah, well, actually, we had a call from a few members of the public, but my phone has actually been hopping all week as well with these calls. This is a call, you receive a call from an unknown mobile number, and when you answer, when you pick up the call, it's an automated message. You're not speaking to another human being. It's an automated message. Automatically, you're informed that suspicious activity has been detected on your bank account. You're then asked to press 1 to speak to whoever, speak to 2. It's I was asked in my calls, press 1 and you'll be put through to an investigating officer. So just we're advising people, should you receive this type of call, if somebody calls you, you answer the call, it's an automated message, hang up. Automatically hang up. And if you have any concerns, just some people then, look, there's worriers, people who worry. If they hang up and they're still
over
worrying,
here,
over there. Not so much me, maybe you. I would hang up and that's me. I forgot about it. But like, some people do and they dwell in it. You know, some people might be worried then, you know, should have stayed on the line. But listen, if you have any worries about your bank account, I'm sure the staff in the bank will be more than happy to assist. Call into the bank in person or look up a verified number for your bank and contact them, and they'll put your mind at ease then in relation to the matter.
So what was I going to say to you? There's basic advice that applies to all of this, because we will keep doing it and talking about scams, because all we have to do is save one person getting done, and it's worth it, right? I get it that some people might think it's repetitive, but I think there's a huge appetite for this kind of information. But no matter how clever they get, no matter how they try and say it's the guards, it's the hospital, it's broadband, it's the HSE, it's Amazon, there's a few key things that have to be done for them to be able to extort you. So they can come up with all the different ways that they want to try and get your bank details, but that's what they're looking for, Grania, be it for you to verbalise them to them or to click a link. So the key advice covers all of the various sort of different emerging scams. What is that advice?
It does, of course, and as you said, there's so many types of scams. We'd be here all day if we tried to go through each individual type of scam, but the bottom line is never divulge personal banking details to anybody, whether that be over the phone, via email, text message, regardless of who they say they are. It doesn't matter who they say they are.
Because they will go, can I have your 4-digit security code? The first 2 digits of it. And you go, they can do nothing with the first 2 digits. Yeah. And you go 1, 2. And they go, sorry, the line broke up there. I have to refresh. Sorry, can I have the second 2 digits of your security code? 3, 4. Oh, right, okay, 3, 4. Then, your security code is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the type of sophistication they have.
Of course, and they're conniving, and there's so many ways around this. And of course, unfortunately, I see it myself, I check Pulse. There are people falling victim to it, and it's sad to see that people are falling victim. And just really and truly, we're asking people, just if you stay tight-lipped. Do not give any of your information away, on the phone, email, text message.
Never click a link in a text.
And a text, never click a link or an email or a text if it's unsolicited. And it's mostly actually text messages, that they send these links out. And some of these text messages have quite a worrying factor to them. There's an urgency about them, that your account has been emptied, more or less. You need to click this link to rectify it.
And
don't click the link.
In case you're not aware too, they can clone numbers that would make a alleged text from your bank appear in a thread of texts from your bank.
They can, of course, yeah. And then, of course, that is, I would say, how they catch most people out, because it does. Some of these scam messages appear in a genuine thread of messages. And listen, just don't click links, don't give personal details. Again, as in the advice we gave for the previous type of scam there, if you're worried, just hang up, don't answer the email, delete the email, delete the text message. Contact your bank and your financial institution via a verified number or call in person. Check with them. And if it is a case that they do need to take action, they can then do it, and at least you're sure then that this has happened and action needs to be taken. But we would ask people really, just contact anybody that you have that's anyway vulnerable or elderly. Please make them aware that even those few basic steps, not to click links and never to divulge personal or banking information.
I don't suppose there's any property market events coming up soon.
You heard about this last week. There is on this Saturday, actually now. Saturday, July 29th, yeah. So the first event will be held out there at Dromahal football pitch. That's between 11 and 2. And the second event is on the same day, this Saturday, at Cloughan Community Centre. That's
plenty of space there. So this is not just about, this is about trailers and stuff as well.
Yeah, well, we were trying to find locations just because usually there would be a lot of tractors and trailers and things like that. So we wanted somewhere with plenty of space that they can all pull in and queue up, So, the Cloughan Community Centre, that's between 5 and 7. So we would ask people, this is a good opportunity to have your items marked with your air code. We would ask people also, please ensure you have the correct air code. Once we mark it, if you give us the air code at that event, we have it marked. And if your air code's incorrect, it's there, it's on it. So please make sure you have the correct air code.
And you get to stand around looking at other men's trailers and tractors and whatever they bring. And men love doing that. So, it's a win-win.
Well, it's me that's going out there. I don't have much interest in looking at tractors and trailers, to be
property. You're there to mark the property.
But then, look, it's a good social catch-up
too. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you just start that.
Yeah, no, it's a good social a wee day out for them too. Exactly. They can catch up with their neighbours and friends.
Right, okay. That is Saturday, July 29th, Dromahal football pitch between 11am and 2pm, and then the Cloughan Community Centre between 5pm and 7pm. You can bring your bigger items there. There's plenty of space, and get them marked, but make sure it's the correct air code, because it's sort of a one-shot job.
And
just actually, security. Go ahead.
Just as well, actually, Greg, if anybody does want, if there are other communities within, the Letterkenny district, because that's where I'm based, but of course all the other districts within Donegal also, if there are any communities who wish to have the property mark machine taken out to their community, there's no issue.
I can't remember now. There was someone from some organisation, and I think we mentioned it anyway, that I don't want to say, because I think it might be something to do with anyway, doesn't matter. So whoever that was that got in contact, you might know who I'm talking about. They were saying, when is one coming near to us, because we've got some equipment. I think it might have been first responders, I'm not sure.
Right.
So in other words, Garda will work with you, and especially if it's something important like that there, to make sure all your gear is marked. All right, Grania, I have to let you go.
No problem.
All right, thank you so much for calling in.
You.
That's Garda Grania Doherty there, and that was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 25th of July. We'll be back live after the news at 10 next Tuesday. Don't forget, you can watch back, listen back on the podcast, or watch back on our Facebook page or the Garda Síochána Facebook page a little later on. Although it seems, and you must start getting paranoid about this now, every time you're in, Every time that you're in, I forget.
Or do you?
I do, and I think it was the week before last. I think it was like 3 days later, and I thought, I'm going to have to post this or Granny's going to start. And you talk about not being...
fear kicked in.
Yeah, but you talk about not being paranoid. And yet if it's
I don't take offence.
I know, but if it's Union, it's up 5 minutes later.
You don't have favourites.
So anyway, I guarantee you it'll be... I bet you Ryan Tuberty doesn't have to cut the audio and put it up himself. All right, listen, thanks very much, Garda Granularity. Back after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
In as little as 3 minutes, you could die from smoke inhalation. A working smoke alarm gives you a chance to get out. It might be the sound that saves your life. Test your smoke alarms regularly, remove obvious dangers, and have an escape route planned. Visit firesafetyweek.ie for more fire safety tips. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Big Band Country Nights continue at Lokes of Cranford this Tuesday with Declan Ernie and his band. Another Big Band Country Night this Tuesday with Declan Ernie at Lokes of Cranford, where you will also find music in the Wee Bar on Saturdays and old time dancing on Sundays.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanising these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Visit Connolly's Cupra, Sligo. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Join Norman Boland for the launch of his new album, A Country Singer, Singing Country Songs, on Thursday the 27th of July at the Mount Derrigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Joined by special guests Mick Flavin, Louise Morrissey, Sean Cuddy and more. It's a night not to be missed. Get your tickets at the door or from hotel reception. Doors open at 7 p.m.
Psst, hey, come here to me. I defended the rebels in the Rising. Still a bullet in me bricks.
Hi, did you know my stones are home to wrens, butterflies, even native lizards?
Well, Sham, I've been a canvas, shelter, goalpost, meeting point, stage.
If these walls could talk, they'd never stop. National Heritage Week, August 12th to 20th. Visit heritageweek.ie. National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council, supported by the Local Authorities Heritage Officer Network and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Are you tired of working from home with constant distractions? Don't let the summer chaos hinder your productivity. Join G-Tech Digital Hub today. Say goodbye to the house full of people and hello to working on your own terms. G-Tech Digital Hub, Termon and Carrigart. Call 074 91 54291 to secure your spot. Did you know that new tertiary degree programmes are now available through Donegal ETB in conjunction with Atlantic Technological University? These unique degree programmes allow students to remain in their local region while studying for a degree. If you're interested in getting a degree in business, lab science, sustainable engineering technologies or general nursing, apply today. CAO points aren't required for this opportunity to explore university education in a flexible learning environment. For more information on how to apply, visit atu.ie/tertiary degrees. Backed by popular demand, the Murder Express arrives at Oakfield Park this August. The year is 1891 and the Borlotti Brothers Carnival is on tour across Europe. The next stop is Oakfield, 20 years on from the last visit. But there's missing jewels, mistaken identity and of course a brutal killing. Enjoy a theatrical dining experience, a train ride and immersive theatre where you get to interrogate key suspects in a bid to uncover the truth. Followed by a delicious banquet with wine, a full bar and music. Book a place now on the 11th or 12th of August for the Murder Express at oakfieldpark.com.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Joined on it now by Dr. Joe Kelly, historian, Majin Y. Joe, how are you keeping?
Mai, Greg, agus a luck déisteachta. Good morning to yourself and to your listeners there in Highland Radio.
Right, now, set your face to stunned or set your ears to stunned, because Dr. Joe Kelly believes we have a crisis in politics in this country, and he doesn't blame the politicians, he's blaming you.
Well, somewhat.
Ish. Okay, ish. I'm just trying to be controversial. Right, okay, where's our starting point here? Is politics in crisis? If so, why?
Well, I'm drawn to a historical story of Benjamin Franklin. When he was leaving Independence Hall while drafting the American Constitution, he met this woman and she said to him, "Sir, what manner of government have you bequeathed to us?" And he replied, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it. A republic, madam, if you can keep it." Our democracy is not something that just exists. It's something that we have to keep. And everybody has a role to play in that democracy, and everybody has a duty within that democracy to ensure that it survives. And at the present moment, I'm of the belief that our political structures, not just in Ireland, worldwide, but particularly in relation to our own country, we no longer have politics as we know it. And let me maybe explain the meaning politics. It's a Greek word. Polis means city in Greek. And in Greek times, the idea was that everybody had a say in the running of the city. And the people that were in charge were there for the well-being of every individual within that city. And so over the centuries, we've adopted that into our European ideology of politics, and that we all have a say and we go out to vote. But I think that concept is noble as it is, and noble that we might feel that we are really, we control the politics. We no longer have that situation.
But we'll get to that, but we sign up to it because what we do here, and it seems to be in most similarly democratic countries, is that we go out and vote, not in huge numbers, just about a majority. We elect, we vote for individuals or for parties, and then they form a government, which we don't actually vote on the government that they formed because they keep their cards very close to the chest. We know going into elections, they'll say, we'll never work with that party. And next thing you know, they coalesce in government with them. But politicians now seem to think that once they've been given that they have a mandate to act carte blanche. That's to play with our immigration policy, our neutrality, what you do with public fundings, the direction of travel of the country in many different areas. So that is that democracy. So, because we don't really get a say on it. We get to fiddle around the edges. But it seems to be once you vote for a person, you've given them the mandate to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, you see... The fundamental understanding of our democracy, if we go back to the foundation of the state and what we call our public representatives. Now, please, I want to separate our TDs from our county councillors. The county councillors are good guys. Honestly, they are. They're the people that we meet on the street every day that are fighting for our communities and dealing with the real issues. So they're the good guys and ladies. So please, I want to make that very, very clear. In fact, if you meet a county councillor, they say thank you to them because they are genuinely working on behalf of the ordinary man and woman on the street. However, our TDs and almost all our government and nearly most, not all, there are good Teachta Dála, but a Teachta Dála TD means a messenger to the dial. Teachta is a messenger. So we in Donegal send someone as a messenger from us. That's the concept of TD, Teachta Dála. But what we have at the moment is a DT, Dála Teachta. They're telling us what we are to hear, what we are to believe, what we are to do. And they're legislating us to the point where we nearly can't breathe, we can't think. We're being legislated out of existence by this present government. I would argue, as a historian, and it's my opinion, that Helen McEntee is the most draconian Minister of Justice we've had since Kevin O'Higgins 100 years ago when he signed the execution of 77 people during the Civil War. Her laws are so draconian and they're coming so fast, they're not being challenged, they're not being debated. And sadly, President Higgins did say during COVID he wasn't happy with the amount of laws that were being sent to him to sign and the speed at which it was happening. He would need to start refusing to sign these laws into law. He has the power to do that. There's so much.
But do you disagree with them, though, Joe? And we've talked about some of these individual, and we can't go through them all and debate them as such. But you are of that opinion, okay, because you disagree with the laws that she's introducing. For some, they see what she's introducing as a protection of women in abusive relationships, a protection of marginalised groups from verbal or physical abuse, and on it goes. It just so happens that you disagree with them. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she is as draconian as you make out, surely, does it? So Mark Christie, well, go ahead anyway, answer that.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but you see, I'm not the judge here, and I'm not the person that sets the standards here. What is the standard that has been set for us is our Constitution. And the Constitution belongs to every man and woman in this country. Doesn't belong to the politicians. And she is fundamentally changing our Constitution consistently. Not just her. This very government that's in place is tampering with our Constitution, law after law after law. That's not me saying that. This is our Constitution.
So why is the opposition then? I mean, then you've talked about the role of the Chok da Dal. I think there's a recognised role of the opposition to challenge it. That's what the opposition is there for when they're not in government. That's how it's supposed to work. They are there to hold the government to account, to challenge the legislation, to test the legislation by whatever means politically necessary.
Well, like some of these laws that she's passed will be challenged constitutionally. It isn't my intention. The Dáil now is in recess, and when the Senate comes back, they're going to vote on this hate speech law, which is a given. It's a given that it will go through. Yeah, maybe Michael McDowell will object to it, but it'll go through, and then it'll go to Michael D. Higgins to sign. My intention is to write to Michael D. Higgins and ask him to refer that to the High Court. Very few of these laws have been referred to its constitutionality to the High Court. This is the process and the powers that the President has, and I feel that he's failing us on this regard. And it's not about necessarily opposition. I think many of our politicians are of the same way of thinking, and that they're all on the same, and I used this word before, agenda. And an example of that was a few nights ago when every one of the Irish MEPs voted for the new Green Deal in the EU. And had the Irish TDs not voted, it wouldn't have gone through. It won 312, I think it was, or 612 to 312, sorry. To 312.
It was well orchestrated. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Go ahead, Joe.
Let me finish the point. What those MEPs did was they put their political parties in the EU before the people of Ireland. And they all jumped into their political lines and did what their parties told them. Now, what they'll argue back is saying, well, we don't know the minutiae of this Green Deal. But they're talking about re-greening 20% of Ireland and the word is all, ecosystems by 2050. What does that mean? This isn't a deal for farmers. This isn't a deal for Green Ireland. But yet every one of our MEPs jumped into line with their EU masters. So this is what you're talking about politics. You know, we can change our government, and we may very well do that. But what we're going to get, be it a brown cat or a white cat or a multi-spotted cat, it's still a cat and we're the mice.
Right, well, let me ask you, what is the agenda then? What is the agenda of the cats v the mice, if we're the mice? Because you've obviously given this a great deal of thought. It seems that you believe this is part of a greater ideology. So what is the motivation then, and who is the beneficiary?
Well, I think that you can tear up, the real question is you can tear up what Patrick Pearse read on the steps of the GPO, the proclamation. We have a new proclamation, which is you will do what you're told. I mean, the MEPs that 2 nights ago voted for this, they all jumped into their party lines. They put their parties before their people. So what's their agenda? They're going to follow their masters and dictates. And we, the people, we are being silenced. We are being labelled. If we stand up and speak, we're told to be silent. We're labelled. I mean, I get it, and other people get it. We're constantly being labelled. We're homophobic. We're anti-transgender. We're extreme right. We're Catholic, or we're religious, or we're just being labelled one thing after the other when we are only asking simple questions about the betterment for our children, better health service, better infrastructures for our communities. These are questions which our councillors deal with. These are questions that we want addressed, but we don't get those questions addressed. Can I just make one point? Michael McGrath was asked about the immigrants. And we've had about 1 million immigrants come into our country in the last 10, 15 years. And he was asked about the budget for this. And he says, well, I've put a budget of 2.3 billion aside in 2023 for this. And we, the people in Donegal, where would 2.3 billion go with our Micah crisis? There is nothing clear for
but the
me
money, you see, but Joe, you know yourself, you know the money is there for both. It's not like money's being diverted from one issue to another. So then as soon as you start pitching the migrant issue against the defective concrete issue, I think that's beneath you, because you know the money's there for both.
That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not what I'm trying to say. And by all means, we'll talk about the migrants again. Oh God, no, that's not what I mean. But my point is, there seems to be so much red tape for the Micah people, but no red tape for migrants.
No, but I get that 100%. I mean, that's indisputable.
That's my point. And this is, again, we the people are being ignored.
Right. Okay. So how did it come to a point in the political landscape, and it's worldwide now at this point, whereby we don't have a meeting of minds? So you don't have representation whereby there is a conservative element to it. That, in other words, it's either really, really extremely liberal or really extremely conservative. And then we have this, and we're seeing it in Spain at the moment. The country's split 50-50. You have people that are pushing back against, wokeism and advances, as some might see it, and others that want things liberalised even further. Politics isn't working in that we're not finding any middle ground or any consensus, right? And the people have their role to play in that as well, because the people themselves are becoming polarised. Families are being split down the middle. Friendships are ending.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think I've said anything today that would put me either left or right. If I ask someone, what side am I on, I don't think I've said anything.
Yeah, but you very clearly said, Joe, unless I missed it, that you don't feel that you could speak absolutely freely on some of the issues that you feel passionate about, because you would be labelled far right very, very quickly.
Well, I don't think so in that sense, because I think that this is what they do. They label people. Once people cannot control you, they control how you
stay there. You've done it again. I'm going to have to take a break for the news. You'll stay with me for a couple of minutes, won't you? Okay. This is Dr. Joe Kelly. If you agree with him, disagree, of course, you can get in touch with us, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll go back to Joe after we get the news headlines, and it's time for us to say good morning once again to Michaela Clark. Good morning, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The partner of a Galway man missing in the Fanad area says the last conversation she had with him was him saying he would catch up with her. Searches are ongoing for Greg King, who was visiting the area with friends and was last seen at midnight on Sunday. Investigations are ongoing into the discovery of €4 million worth of cocaine along the North Donegal coast last week. On Wednesday morning, 2 packages weighing a combined total of 60 kg were found on Tramore and Ballyharm Beach. Cabinet is expected to sign off on financial assistance for businesses in Raphoe and Castlefin today affected by flash floods on Saturday. Proposals are coming before Cabinet to reopen the Business Enterprise Fund. Garda have reissued an appeal for information in relation to a weekend crash between Termon and Kilmacrennan. Shortly after 3:05 on Saturday afternoon, 2 cars travelling in the opposite direction crashed in the Clonkillimore area. The drivers and passengers of both vehicles were taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to injuries, which Garda say are serious but not believed to be life-threatening. Meanwhile, Garda and Letterkenny are again warning over the theft of what they have described as vulnerable vehicles. They say the theft of Japanese imported vehicles has become a weekly occurrence. A white Toyota Corolla was stolen from a business premises on the Pierce Road over the weekend and later found on fire a number of days later. A Donegal man is to be sentenced today after being found guilty of the rape and sexual abuse of his young daughter. 55-year-old Michael Carter of Kinnigo Ballymagan Buncrana was found guilty last month of 1 count of rape and 25 counts of sexual assault when his daughter was aged between 9 and 12 years old between June 2010 and June 2014. HIQA has published inspection reports on 2 residential centres for older people in Donegal. The Donegal Community Hospital in Donegal Town was found to offer good care, but issues were noted with the premises. In total, 5 non-compliances were found. Larissa Lodge in Letterkenny was found to offer good care and previous improvements were sustained. No non-compliances were reported. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thanks very much indeed. OK, we'll go straight back to our conversation now with Dr. Joe Kelly. Joe, thanks for that. Right, OK, so what I put to you before the news there is that there seems to be no middle ground anymore. There seems to be no space whereby we come up with some sort of a public consensus where you give me a bit, I give you a bit. Have you anything to say about that? Do you recognise that that's the case, or do you see it some way different?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head. That's where the crisis of politics is. Our politicians have masterfully put us into extremes, what they determine as extremes, liberal or left or right or whatever. And this is the labelling. You see, once you start labelling people, then the conversation is gone. You move from conversation to confrontation. And I'll just give you an example as a teacher. When I walk into my classroom every year and I get new students, right, I have a sign up on my wall, a big poster up on the wall, Einstein's. And it says, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll go round all its life thinking it's stupid. And I tell my children, some of you in here are not meant to climb the tree of the curriculum that I will teach, because you're a fish. You are meant to swim in the sea. And if I were to label them and say, no, you're stupid, so therefore I'm not going to work with you for the next 6 years, my job is not to label the student. My job is to try to understand and listen to the student and work with that student. And what I discover 99.9999% of the time is that student in front of me may be a fish, and a wonderful fish at that, that's never meant to climb that tree of what I might be teaching. There are other people that will climb that tree, no problems. So back to the politics. If we label people, and this is what's happening left and right, at the centre, and I don't think there's anybody liberal or conservative or in any spectrum of politics that doesn't want a better future for their children, that doesn't want better health services, that doesn't want a better community, that doesn't want better security and safety and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all agree on that, and we're all in the centre in that. And this is where we need to be. And unfortunately, and this is the danger, Greg, politicians will bring us to an extreme. They'll jump on one side knowing that if I get enough of one side, I'll get elected. And the other go, well, if I get enough on the other side, I'll get elected. What we need is someone that can build consensus, somebody that can stay in the middle and see the goodness that's in everybody, no matter what political orientation, view, direction they have. Because I fundamentally believe that at the heart of every human being are the same wants and desires as any other human being.
Is it possible, though, that the people that do speak out don't articulate their language very well, in that you can have lots of issues are grouped in? Okay, so you might have people that are conservative on certain issues and then have certain views about the climate, for an example, about gender, about abortion, and the list goes on. And then what happens is they're all, you can't have a nuanced conversation because the views are so sort of right across the board, and I might agree with them in certain things but not in others, and I don't want them really governing me because I don't really like the world that they're trying to create if they had the power.
And that's that's very well put. An example is the last abortion referendum, and I don't want to get into the debate of it. You had 1.2 million, I think, voting yes, and you had 800,000 voting no. And those 800,000 were just ignored, abandoned. Not all political parties, almost, I think one or two didn't, turned their backs on them, says, you know what, your view isn't important anymore. That's a wrong kind of...
but that was a vote, though. That's a referendum.
Yeah, but a lot of people felt abandoned and put down.
But you want to protect democracy, but then you question the democratic vote.
No, I'm not questioning a democratic vote. You're missing my point. What I'm saying is those 800,000 people had a view that is worth respecting in the same way as the 1.2 million had a view that is worth respecting.
Well, I hope their view is respected.
It shouldn't just be about majority, because when we come, for example, to LGBT matters, it's not about majority. It's about what's right and where the balance is, and you build consensus. And unfortunately, and you've said this, we're building on extremes rather than finding the centre ground. And if you think of the likes of Gandhi, if you think of the likes of Martin Luther King, people like that, they built consensus. They brought people together from different views in their time. And unfortunately, we do not have that in politics at the moment. I think it's going to be very interesting come the next style election in Donegal. I mean, is it possible? Is it unfathomable? And I don't think it is, that we will have no present government TD back the next time in the Dáil. Is it possible that the government party, that the constitutional party of the country, Fianna Fáil, might not have a TD representing Donegal the next? Because I think there's a constitutional crisis going on. People know something's wrong. It's like, a corpse, and you can put makeup on them and you can put perfume on them, but the smell will eventually come out of that corpse. And I think at the moment the problem is we have crisis after crisis, but people need to really take heed of the smell.
I don't know. I think, you could well be right, but I think there are... I think it's broader now than it used to be. I think there are 20% of people with extreme views. I don't even like that word, in one direction and 20 in the other. I still believe there's a 60% in the middle that are perhaps almost apathetic at this point, that just want to get on with their life and to be able to live a happy life, and for people to be treated fairly, and don't want to engage in these these extremes of conversation. Sinead is joining the conversation now. Sinead, is anything that Joe's saying resonating with you? Do you agree with anything he's saying?
Hi, Greg. Thanks for asking me on. Not a lot, to be perfectly honest with you, Greg. And a lot of what Joe was saying is very contradictory, to say the least. To say that our politicians in Ireland jump on extremes and will just go with extremes is when we have possibly the most conservative government or centrist government throughout the entire EU is just unbelievable to me. I don't understand where he's coming from. I don't understand why there's opposition to the hate speech bill. I don't understand why all of a sudden you're talking about a constitutional crisis, but then you won't respect or you choose not to. It shouldn't be about the majority, apparently, when it comes to a vote on a constitutional issue. It's just... But
he rejected that. That was the point I made, and he rejected that, and he's well able to defend himself. So we have a centralist government, one of the most centralist governments in Europe, Joe. Stay where you are, Sinead.
She's contradicting herself. That's making my point. The fact that we are being so centralised by government and regulated by government makes my point. That's the point I'm making, and you're agreeing. Thank you for making the point for me. We are so...
No, I didn't say centralised. I didn't say centralised. I said centre.
Yeah.
Centrist. So there's a very big difference between centralised and centrist. And a centrist government or centrist politicians, by their very nature, don't have a tendency to jump on extremes, Joe.
Well, I disagree with you on the centrist point of view exactly. What do you mean by centrist? And again, if you look at all the various concerns that people are having that aren't being addressed. So just for example, Niall Collins and his expenses, he's refusing to explain his expenses, the 9,000 miles as opposed to, and his expense. He's refusing to explain that. We have Helen McEntee.
That's got nothing to do with centrism. Absolutely nothing. That's corruption.
You have Helen McEntee that goes into a court in camera, we don't know the judge, and asks, without authority from the Dáil, that all our mobile phones and calls and records are kept for a year.
Did you have any concerns with that, Sinead?
Yeah, massively so. But that has absolutely nothing to do with politicians being centrist in any way, shape or form.
Do you have any concerns, Sinead?
What they do tend to do is sort of centrist right, which is exactly the point that Joe is making. Joe seems to be from a very much a right-wing point of view. And we like him talking, saying, no, he's not. But all his talking points very much right-wing.
Well, no, he might say that...
Centre right.
He might say you're making his point by labelling him, you see, by simply speaking out and questioning the direction of traffic in this country, labelling him extreme right or far right. That's That's...
I didn't say extreme right or far right. I said centre right. I didn't say extreme or far.
Right, okay. Well, the connotation's there. But anyway, Joe, I'll bring you back in a second. So, Sinead, are you not in any way concerned about the hate speech legislation and the level of scrutiny of it, and really the lack of understanding as to, what it actually will control, how it can be interpreted and enforced? Have you no concerns at all in this whole process as to how the hate speech has... I mean, we hope it is the case where it means that, marginalised groups or individuals can't be abused, they can't be harangued, that they are protected. That might happen, but there could be collateral damage as well. Are you not in any way concerned that it is not being properly scrutinised, like the same kind of scrutiny we were looking for the defective concrete legislation, for an example?
So, I mean, I don't know that it hasn't been scrutinised to that level. I don't know if it's just the fact that it's gone through a little bit quicker. But, I mean, in terms of the scrutiny, look, ideally you would want every single law that is to be passed, every single act to be passed, to be fully scrutinised by everybody. In an ideal world, of course you would. Only a fool would think otherwise. But, I mean, I'm not concerned by the proposals that's in the hate speech law that I can see. My only question would be how it is going to, in fact, be enforced. And whether or not that will be enforced, and whether or not who's going to enforce it. And, I mean, they're crying out about the lack of guardies, stuff like that.
But, Sinead, so the point is, as you see, so then some people who have concerns about the hate speech law, all of a sudden they're being labelled as homophobic or transphobic or racist because they have concerns about how far-reaching this hate speech may be and limit debate and conversation. And with respect, Sinead, you sound like you might have similar concerns yourself. So I think that's what Joe's talking to. In the democracy we have now, even though we might agree, it seems we can't really comfortably have the conversation.
I know, and I don't, Greg, I don't have any concerns with what I can see in the hate speech law at all as being proposed. At all. And it actually is, in fact, you would swear that this was in some kind of outlier or some new thing that's happened in the world. That law is actually, that proposed law is actually going to bring us into line.
All right, okay. Just stay there. That line will come back, Sinead. If you can hear me, stay where you are. Joe, you're shaking your head there.
Totally, there's serious concerns. Michael McDowell, a former AG, a man of great legal mind, has serious concerns, as a senator now, has serious concerns about this. And she says, we're bringing us into line. I presume she was going to say with the rest of the world. Many governments, many people throughout the world have been watching Ireland and are concerned, have expressed concerns about the free speech. It's going to have...
Yeah, but the international commentators, Joe, have their concerns how it's being framed to them with people with their own agenda as well. You see, I want to have a real open conversation, but I want it to be real and open. Elon Musk had a certain interpretation, if we're going to talk about him, and JFK the same as well. They had a certain framing of this hate speech law, and it's that which they commented on. They didn't comment on they never read it or didn't have any understanding of it. They just thought, right, that group has said this is this, that and done, and therein again lies part of the problem, Joe.
Well, see, the thing is, just fundamentally, if you ever look at a statue of justice in courthouses, it's Lady Justice standing with the weighing scales holding the balance, and she's blindfolded. Yeah? So everybody comes before the law equal. You are innocent until proven guilty. This law subverts that constitutional reality. You are guilty until proven innocent. That is a flipping of our basic fundamental.
But as I say, this still has to be dealt through, and that is an interpretation of it, Joe.
Well, it's not, Greg, because that is the onus will be on the person to prove their innocence. That you did not have this material, if you have it on your WhatsApp, that you didn't have it with a...
No, but it's been made very clear that you could have a racist meme on your phone. It's not a crime. But if you intend to go and distribute that, you don't have to prove that you were never going to go and distribute it. I
think that's Michael McDowell's concern.
Yeah, but that is looking at what really, really could be possible. You don't seriously think any government really actually wants to interpret and enforce the law like that, Joe? I mean, I'm not saying it's facetious, but I mean...
Well, Greg, we're having a conversation. I mean, people that I know, that I speak to, are telling me, and I would love your listeners to phone in, do they feel that they can no longer speak in this society? Do they feel that they're being made shut up and being silenced? And I guarantee you many people will say that to you.
Sinead, can I put that to Sinead too? Sinead, listen, I mean, you've been on the show before, Joe's been on the show before. I think we could all probably we could all have a pint and a bit of crack. Do you know what I mean? We're not all sort of but there is a point that we have got to a stage, Sinead, now though, if someone has anything even remotely conservative of a point of view, it's hard to get them to come on the radio because they're afraid that they'll be seen as backward or they'll be shot down for it. I'm not on about really extreme views, Sinead. I'm on about something that someone says, you know what, I think we're going just a little bit too far here. And people like that feel they don't have a voice, they're afraid to speak out. We don't want to be in that space either, Sinead, do we?
No, definitely not. But the problem I have here is that, so what is it that's being said that people feel where they're being silenced? And it's usually, to be honest, the people who are saying that they're feeling silent.
Right, say for instance, Sinead, I'll give you an exact example. There are people who say, for instance, on transgenderism, for example, that they are perfectly happy to support and accept anyone who's of 18 years of age to live that life that they want to live, and they will address them as they want to be addressed, and they'll respect them, and that's fine. But the same people then might be concerned that young teenagers are being taught stuff in that regard. Now, I'm not going down the libraries route and the book stuff. I'm not on about any of that, Sinead, but that might be taught stuff that could confuse them, that it's hard for them to deal with, that they don't want their children to be exposed to. But we have a curriculum that is insisting on this being taught to them. But they can't express that view in case they get lumped in with people that are waving certain books in the air and screaming in the face of librarians. Those people don't feel they can speak, Sinead. That are happy that people live their lives as adults, but are concerned of the influence that this type of conversation and narrative might have on their vulnerable children or their impressionable children.
So, and I mean, I have heard people on the radio talking about this, Joe. Greg, jeepers. But I have heard people on Highland talking about this.
Yeah, but on Highland it's different, I think.
Yeah. And that's the thing. This is what this space affords. This space affords everybody to say with their piece. Now, you know me, I will 100% disagree, and just anything that's extremist, especially on the right side of things, I'm going no. But there are people who may have genuine concerns, and that is where the conversation needs to happen. But if those people are not having conversations with people who are informed, with people who are experts in the subject, that's where the problem lies.
But the parents are experts in what they think is right for their children too, though.
They're experts in their children.
Yeah.
They are. And I mean, I'm a mother, I'm expert in my children. However, you do also have to listen to the experts. And to be perfectly honest, it's not the kids who have a problem with any of this. It's the older people. Yeah. People my generation and above.
But you see, Sinead, just in terms of experts, and I want to bring Joe back in in a sec. But like, say for instance, vaping, right? Vaping stops you smoking. Smoking gives you cancer. But we don't really know, this is probably a terrible example, but we can't say vaping is brilliant because we don't really know what the consequences might be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, right? Now, in terms of the policies that we're employing now as to what we teach our children and how we teach them, yes, that is maybe some experts' view at this time, but we really don't know how that will affect people in years to come. We don't even really have enough information to find out that if someone transitions, for example, what percentage of them it improves their lives or how they might feel at 25, 30, 35 or 40, depending on when they through that. So we can't blindly accept all of the information because no expert could truly know it at this point, Sinead. So we need to be really careful that the decisions we make now, as well-intentioned as they are the right decisions. Because we all love our children and care for them, but we have to be absolutely certain that what we're doing now is right, because the consequences and ramifications for future generations, if we get it wrong now, Sinead, could be massive.
But I mean, teaching something in schools and teaching that this is something that does exist in our world, and there are people now to this radio who are transgender, and teaching children about a reality of life is a completely different thing from coercing them into thinking that way, or
for sure,
giving them some. Kids are presented with a lot of information, and it doesn't mean to say. I mean, kids are taught about the Holocaust. That doesn't mean to say that they go down and they turn into. They're taught a fact, and this is a fact of life, that there are transgender people right now in our communities. And that this is a fact of life. It is not something that can be brushed under the table.
But we also have to make sure that in that space then, right, so in that space too, we also have to say, right, well, we've talked about lots of different things, but there also is this, a man and woman can get together and they can have children. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to make sure it covers all bases then, so.
But it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't exclude that just in favour of teaching kids about transgenderism or teaching kids about LGBTQ plus, matters. It doesn't exclude anything.
Yeah.
And the kids don't have a problem with it. It's the parents and the people my age who seem to have the problem.
And I think, Sinead, a lot of parents who are very vexed about this, if the truth be told, they should talk to the kids, because the kids know all about it. They've got friends of all different types and they get on with it. They've got no issues whatsoever, and they wonder what these old people are all going on about, because it's just their life and they get it. Right, Sinead, listen.
And I would like just to say, sorry, I just want to say, the kids are reading about this on the internet, and they're reading God knows what on the internet, Greg.
Yeah.
I would much rather that children were taught the facts as opposed to the extremes that they can see on the internet. So, we should all aim to make our kids knowledgeable about the world, so that they can handle the world when they're adults.
I think
they can handle the world now.
There's a lot
and that's the entire point of it.
And there's quite a bit of disagreement. There's a lot of agreement too in this this situation. Not from me, but from you and Joe. Sinead, thanks for your time. Great to chat to you.
Thanks,
all right,
Greg,
okay. And as I say, it's good to hear all sorts. Right, last couple of minutes to you, Joe, because I've completely thrown the agenda out the window now at this point.
Well, look, can I just say, like, Sinead obviously is an articulate lady that's able to express her mind and has no fear. I think there's a silent majority that are afraid. You talked about this before. There are a number of people that haven't the confidence she has. I'm expressing my mind, and I don't necessarily want to be labelled in that, but the point I'm trying to make is, and she hit the nail on the head when she said conversation. Both of us, three of us, should I say, we're having a conversation. And what she talked about, for example, the transgender element there, she said, teach them the facts. The kids don't really need to be taught the facts about this, because, as you said, they already know this. I have young children. They understand this. They know this. It's the way then it's been taught, and it's the agenda that's behind that. And when they get a little gap, the agenda, they make it so wide, and that's the concern parents have. And for example, to be able to talk about, for example, we were on about transgenderism. What impact is this having on young girls, say, in changing rooms and dressing rooms? What impact is this having on women's sport? And maybe women are afraid to...
Yeah, but we'll work, in fairness, though, in terms of the women in sport thing, we're working through that now. We are seeing the fact that, maybe things went a little bit too quick, too soon, and we are seeing now new rules and regs being brought in to recognise obvious anomalies and things that don't make sense. And I don't think there are trans people, honestly, running around changing rooms and toilets, harassing people. In women's toilets, you go to a toilet in a cubicle. I don't know why there's not cubicles in every toilet, for that matter. Peeing against the wall just seems Neanderthal to me. But anyway, listen, I take your point. Joe, as always, interesting. You've started a conversation. A lot of people are agreeing with you. I don't think I want to live in a country whereby you have what's seen as the government media. I'm not saying that's the case, but you're seen as the government media. And now what you're seeing is you're seeing little shows and podcasts popping up whereby it's only the right or people that get their views. Hey, it's great for advertising revenue, all that, that's fine, but we still need to all share the same space, I think, Joe, and have the conversations in the same place. We might disagree, we might agree, but let's not call each other's names, unless someone comes out with something ridiculously offensive, but you know what I mean.
The point is, Greg, and the hard work is trying to get people in the centre and to keep them in the centre. That's where real democracy happens, and that's where the struggle is. And as you point out, going to extremes is a dangerous place. And what will happen, you will see this happen in Ireland. You will see them jump on the immigrant issue. You'll see them jump on other issues as political campaigns go ahead. And they will be divisive. And rather than holding the centre, and again, as I mentioned...
Because we've got this situation, say in Dublin, there are people by young white Irish guys being beaten up in the streets, women being assaulted, terrible stuff happening. There's awful things happening to children in this country at the moment in terms of how they're cared in Kusla. And I've no criticism of it, but then you've got other groups of people that are standing outside empty hotels saying there's men going to come in here and do awful things in the community and to our children. We all need to sort of say, right, it doesn't really matter where you come from or what have you, but we need to actually put children first. We need to put people first. And then you'll have one group will ignore one problem because it suits their agenda, and another group will ignore another problem. But we're not getting anywhere. We're just getting more and more polarised. We're in more echo chambers of our own points of view, and we're coming to oblivious to what's actually happening, whilst talking about what could happen or ignoring what could happen and focusing only on what is happening. It's crazy, Joe. We need to sort of get rid of our apathy and get our heads together and start talking to each other, stop being polarised and start working through what we want from the best for this country. And don't be afraid or scared into thinking a certain way. Think for yourself.
Well, I think, again, this is back to the present government we have. There is no explanations. They don't have to explain. And as I said to you, we no longer have TDs. We have DTs. They tell us coming down from the dial what we're going to get. I mean, on your own show, I've not heard very many government ministers or TDs explaining laws that they're bringing in. They go and they give their 5-minute or 3-minute speech that their speechwriters write for them. And then they go. There's no debate. There's no conversation. And again, I think that's
and
what
public accountability too. There's a serious problem in this country with how the media engage with the people that are elected, or how they allow themselves to engage, the rules and regs, where we should be able to have proper debate and proper scrutiny of things. I mean, that's the fundamental of democracy. I would have thought that you have conversations, you have debates, you scrutinise things, you hear people's concerns, you answer people's concerns. Not line up for a handy 3-minute interview where the questions have been set up in advance. How does that further democracy or information or understanding?
That's what I'm trying to say. This is what we have with the present government. And there's no debate, there's no discussion, there's no accountability. And like what you have in RT...
I don't think it's exclusive to this government, though. I think it's politics. I mean, we'll see what happens if a government changes, but I don't see it.
Sorry, I don't mean to be political in the sense of mean Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. I mean, anybody can be in government, but government for me is the people that rule. Remember, not all Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil TDs are in the government. They're supporting the government. The government is the ministers, if you understand. That is what the government is, a very, very small handful of people. That's what I mean by the government, not necessarily all the 160 TDs outside that circle. But the thing is then, it's not good enough anymore for people to think our democracy, back to Brent, and we'll end with this, Benjamin Franklin, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. And what my discussion is, I am concerned that a republic is not being kept because we, the people, are not being listened to, and we, the people ourselves, are not taking the responsibilities and duties of democracy onto ourselves. And if it's been reporting a pothole or a sign the right way or asking for the right answers and for the truth from our politicians, all that is part of our duty as voting people of this country. Democracy isn't just once every 5 years.
Yeah, I'm glad. I tell you what, I'm really glad. I'm glad that I am at the end of this rather than starting in it, because I wouldn't like a full career of working in media, in the political setup. I'm glad I'm at the end of it. I wouldn't like to be starting now.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. And again, I just wonder, I mean, a number of our TDs are stepping down, don't want to go again. Like, what is it that's dead in our political careers that people aren't willing to go into this field anymore, in this space anymore? Is it just that you're there just to make up numbers, that you're not there to speak and express your mind? I mean, I know one politician, I'll not say who, fairly well, And in all my years since they've become a politician, I have never heard them express their own mind. They always express political speak. And it's a sad way for that individual to have lived their full political life, never having expressed their own mind. What a way to live.
Slán go fáil, Búthal Mai.
Slán go fáil.
Okay, take care, Joe. Thanks very much indeed. Dr. Joe Kelly there, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp or text, or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
232. 3 simple numbers. But for Audi, they signify more. More innovation and excitement. An invitation to experience progress you can feel. And a shift in mindset to greater expectations. Like the competition edition on the Audi A4 and A5 S-Line models. All part of our 232 range. Discover how progress makes you feel in a 232 Audi. And book a test drive today.
Do you run a business in Donegal? Would you like to make it more energy efficient? Then check out the Energy Efficiency Grant from Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Replace your existing equipment with energy efficient solutions and help your business reduce its carbon footprint while saving on energy costs. If your business is eligible, you could receive 50% of the costs, up to a maximum grant of €5,000. Put all your energy into efficiency. Find out more at localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Sometimes it's all about chilling out. At Curry's, our experts will deliver and install your new fridge freezer for half price. And we'll take away your old appliances for free. Get the Beko Pro Harvest Fresh American-style fridge freezer for only €8.99. And save €50 on the Bosch Series 4 fridge freezer, now just €7.99. And you can chill out. Curry's experts deliver and install your new fridge freezer worth €500 and over for half price. Shop in-store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Malin RNLI is thrilled to announce its upcoming 30th anniversary celebration on Sunday, July 30th. The organisers have planned a remarkable day of fundraising events that everyone can enjoy, with the Tower to Town 16k Walker Run Challenge, a 5k runner walk, raft and kayak race, music on the green, and the OR118 Coast Guard helicopter display. Malin RNLI cordially invites everyone to join in the festivities and support this momentous milestone. This ad is kindly sponsored by Forward Emphasis Malin.
Pick up the perfect dinner guest at M&S with 20% off our classics wine range. Maybe a crisp, elegant Pinot Grigio, or a sparkling Prosecco, or perhaps a sumptuous Chianti. With 33 wines in the range, there's a classic wine for every occasion, and you'll only get them with 20% off at your local M&S. Terms and conditions apply. Please drink responsibly.
When you want to get the job done, you need Screwfix. Need something fast? Easy. With Screwfix, you can click and collect in as little as 1 minute. Need it early or late? We hear you. With 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. opening weekdays and early opening on weekends, we don't clock off till you do. Simply shop online at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions.
Dergfest Music Festival Castlederg proudly presents international DJ Darren Styles live on Saturday, July 29th at the Dergfest Big Top Castlederg with special guests Andy Whitby, Ultrabeat and more. Tickets $27.50. See dergfest.co.uk. Sponsored by McKelvey Construction Castlederg. Strictly over 18s.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
11:36. Thanks for all the feedback to our last conversation. I mean, there's not an awful lot I agree with Joe on. I mean, I fully respect his view. I see where he's coming from. I don't quite see it like he sees it. if the truth be told. But as I say, it's interesting to hear and platform all different points of view. I agree with some, and then other things I completely disagree with. But anyway, isn't that what being free-thinking individuals is all about? Anyone who wants to get involved in that conversation, 086 60 25,000. Perhaps you feel that he's gone too far. It's something we're going to return to as well, of course. Now, Marie Dorian's founder of Rose and Rainbows Infertility and Miscarriage Support in Letterkenny joins us now. Marie, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Right. Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, is announcing full public funding for a cycle of IVF for eligible couples from September. This will be the first time in the state that assisted human reproduction treatment is publicly available. There are some caveats in there, but before we get to that, I suppose the fact that we have a scheme now that gives eligible couples at least one round of IVF, it's been a long time coming, I would imagine it feels like, Marie.
Absolutely, Greg. Absolutely an amazing day for the country. And I think within our community, we just want to share so much gratitude. It's absolutely within today marks the
unfortunately
on this day in 1970.
Marie, the phone line's going to pot. Can I disconnect you? Could you hang up, Marie, and allow us to call you straight back again, if that's okay, please? Because it's an important conversation, and one which I want everyone to be able to hear Marie's views on. So, Caroline, can you bang Marie through again? I totally agree with Joe. It's very difficult to express certain views in our world today. Joe is wise beyond his years. Well done. The woke will never be happy. The government knows this and keeps recruiting them to push the latest agenda. The North Pole will soon be the South Pole. But you see, then one's calling group of people the far right, the other's calling them the woke, and it really turns me off. Why are the people who complain about being silenced always on the national radio, TV and social media shouting about it? It's a pretty good point. Marie, are you back with me?
Yeah, I'm here now, Greg.
Okay,
thanks.
Lovely stuff. So you were saying there, I think, about how this is such an important day, and I think you were going to reference some timeline in the past there.
Yes, so today actually is the birth of the first IVF baby in 1978. So it's a really special day for everyone today in our community, and it's fantastic, especially for people starting out on the road. It's going to take a lot of financially just on that first round maybe, or if they've gone through one round already, and looking at their second, it's going to be a big help.
Yeah. What about the BMI ceiling and the age 41? Can you understand why that's in there? Is that a problem, or is that something that needs looking at?
Well, I suppose with every scheme there is going to be clauses, but I just did a quick poll this morning. So from 19 people that voted, straight away, 3 qualified from it from what they've seen this morning, and 3 are unsure.
Okay. Marie, can I come back to you when we've a better line? Because it's an important issue.
Yes.
We've covered it a lot over the years, and I think when there has been such a breakthrough, I would love a proper chat with you. So Caroline might arrange that with you, Marie. We might get you on a landline or something, but we get your view that it's a monumental day, and thank you, Marie, but I want to come back to you when we've a better line. That's Marie Dorian there, and as I say, it is something we will return to. Greg, we know that this government is rotten to the core. Look what they've done to our unborn children, abortion, the murder of our future carers, but that's not how some people see it either, and that's, again, incredibly strong emotive language. And it's your language, and that's fine, I've just read it. Joe's 100% right. If you speak out, you're cancelled by a campaign to promote a certain view. Again, who's cancelled? We've a lot of speakers in this country. I'm thinking Paddy Tobin, for example. He has a lot of views that align to maybe a lot of views that Joe might have, and he's on this show. In fairness, he gets a national platform. I'm trying to think of other groups that have similar views, more conservative groups that there are out there. I mean, now that I'm struggling for an example, it might sound like I'm losing the argument. But you know what I mean? Like, there are strong voices out there with a more conservative tone to them that aren't being silenced, that they do have a platform. I think it suits some people to say that, oh, if you speak out, you're... But, I mean... There are some platforms where you can still have a debate and a conversation. Agreed with Joe, you cannot speak anymore about anything or you're labelled. I agree 100%, but then again, you see some people who agree with Joe are labelling people who disagree with Joe woke, and there we go. You know, I'd love if we could move away from that. Not me and you or the listener and me. I'm not trying to tell you how to speak or how to text in. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm about us as a society. I agree 100% with Dr. Joe. I'm so glad someone's allowed to voice what he has just said. If some less known person said what he said, they'd be vilified. Thank God someone can see clearly what's going on with our politicians and government. Mary Doherty there. You say that, but we had a lady on last week who had quite strong conservative views. She was a concerned parent. She wasn't vilified. We didn't get a load of messages in or no comments on social media saying get that woman off the radio or anything like that there. She had her say, and I hope she felt respected in her view. And as I say, some people agreed, some people disagreed. It'd be boring if we all agreed, wouldn't it? Okay, back shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Go full Lidl today for savings that stack up. Like 4 Irish Board Bia Proof Skinny Burgers worth $3.79, now $2.99. Toss in our deluxe salad trio was $1.59, now 99 cents. And top it off with Santa Rita Sauvignon Blanc for $7.99. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today. Get the facts be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
An Grian in Erin, wishing you few bacalash.
Kinte ta bugamba grain tiltain.
She alcha kraken an alcha is kutchinta in Erin. Is come to Vesavalja no harlar. Cussen de kraken, tri came a clishta than Grian a lanunt.
Kai di fada skuilche, kuruchter grain art. Ka art hatte grain. Fan fui skane grain fewer leighente skamalacha.
Agus na dain arma there in a spekely grain.
Land came in a clishta than Grian. O aimenach dan service slaintje agus edes slaintool.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Duke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Tá mudna in ESB Networks a gobar lena chintu go bhfuil síl glán letrach in ándún go léir in éireann. Agus mar chud san chlór náisiúnta an méadrú cliste, tá méadid cliste letrachis á sitsalin is agan de cheantar. A bhuichastó is beag billa measta a dheofatú. Cáir se leat súla chuineal ar an méad letrachis a úsáidin tú ar bhealach níos fearr, agus ba fáil agad ar thorgaí agus seirbhísí cliste. Déanam it sangó leat ribh hitsal de bhéidir. Tá tilla ólis le fáil ag esbnetworks.ie/smart meter.
Helen Martin is Chief Executive of the Charities Regulator. Good morning to you, Helen.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining us. Just can I flip the coverage a wee bit on its head and say that, you know, we've got a massive amount of charities in this country. Donegal is the 4th highest number of charities in Ireland, and most of them are doing great work and fully compliant. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, Greg, absolutely. And we would always, say that. And even to the extent where there is non-compliance, we're always saying, that you have to remember that it's a very small number in the overall context of the number of charities that there are in Ireland.
But it is a sector, of course, that needs regulation, and it's important, and we have that. And you get representations from members of the public, I presume, over the course of the year with their concerns. So that's really what some of the findings are. It's reflecting that and the investigations that follow.
Yeah, so we issued our annual report today, Greg, and in that we've covered a number of areas of our work, just letting people know what happened during 2022. So in that, one of the good things that we saw is that charities are engaging with the Charities Governance Code. It's how you run your charity well, and we're really heartened to see the level of engagement by the sector with that. It's really, really important. And then also we covered the concerns. These be complaints about charities that we call concerns that we get in from the public during the year. So in total, we would have got over 600 concerns would have been raised with us. But it's important to remember, that's in the context of 11,500 charities. But also, not all of those would relate to registered charities in Ireland. They relate to other organisations that people may have thought were
like GoFundMe, other crowdfunding platforms that people believe are charitable organisations but aren't. Am I correct?
Yeah, that actually came out in our survey there that we issued the report there in May, Greg. And actually, yeah, it was interesting to see what people thought were charities, such as commercial funding platforms online. No, they're commercial entities. They're definitely not charities. Similarly, sporting bodies in Ireland are not charities, so they wouldn't be covered by the charities regulators remit.
So if your local club was running a fundraising draw and you thought that, they've raised 100 grand and the bingo jackpot's 1,000, it's a disgrace. That's not a charity. You can that's not a charity as such.
Exactly. That's a matter for the organisation themselves, and they wouldn't be regulated by the charities regulator. But I mean, we would get concerns raised with us that do fall within our remit, that do relate to charities. But what I would say about that, Greg, is that we publish a compliance report every year where we talk about the number of statutory actions that we've taken, whether it's a statutory direction to provide information or it's appointing inspectors, etc. And 98% of cases where we're engaging with charities, the charities will engage with us voluntarily, and they want to be in compliance, and they will, we will work with them to bring them into compliance, see what the issue is. So it is a very small number where we'll be forced to take our statutory, to enforce it through use of our statutory powers. So I think that's a positive story for the sector itself, because there is that willingness, once it's brought to their attention that something may not be going right, or they may not be following best practice. Most charities, the vast majority, are very happy to ensure that they rectify that.
It seems that, when we start talking about governance standards, it starts becoming a wee bit concerning. But I think a lot of these problems could be resolved if a lot of the charities, which are probably, a small group of people, got their paperwork together on time.
Exactly. Yeah. There's how the charities is run, and we've got that governance code that I mentioned there, which sets out basic standards of governance, how you run it well. And most charities absolutely engage with that, and they found that a really useful tool. And we've got a lot of supporting materials for charities of any difficulties in that area, things like how do you do minutes for your meetings. The big thing I'd say to charities is to make sure that your trustees, they're the people who take on the biggest responsibility in charities, and they're volunteers. So they're the people sitting on your local committee board, or if it's a company, the board of directors. And what's absolutely essential is that they know what's going on in their charity from the perspective of the finances, and to make sure that everything that is collected, whether it's money or donations in goods, that everything is going to the organisation's charitable purpose and helping the people that they were set up to help.
Is there any appetite or scope to bring the likes of these crowdfunding organisations or businesses under some umbrella or other? Because if I was in the charity sector, I would be concerned about sort of maybe, the toxic influence on the good work that's done. There's quite a lot of grifting going on at the moment for different reasons, and people might go, what's going on there? Where's that money going? Yourself. Is there any conversation about sort of trying to make it a fair and level playing field in terms of seeking money from the public for causes?
Well, I'm not aware of any specific proposals in relation to that, Greg, but what I would say is that we have a lot, and particularly during 2022 and into this year as well, we have our initiatives where we're out there telling the public to please make sure that if you are donating or you intend to donate to a charity, to make sure that the entity is in fact a registered charity.
And there is a register for that?
There's a publicly available register of charities, and you can find it at checkacharity.ie. So what we say to everybody is to click, check, and then give. So what it's about, Greg, is making sure that if you're going to give your hard-earned cash or your donations of goods, in a plastic bag at a door or whatever, to make sure that it's going where you intend it to go, and that it is a registered charity. And it's really easy to check that.
Anything else of note that you think is important that we know?
Yeah, I think you would have seen there that we were disappointed at the drop in compliance rates with the charity's annual report. So this is a really basic form that consists of financial information and activities that a charity engaged in the previous financial year, and the level of compliance rates are falling in that. So we're working with charity groups and different trustees and stakeholders to see what the reason for that is. But I would say to charities, it's really important that you submit that form and that you submit it on time. We have a compliance and enforcement programme in place at the moment, and charities will be removed from the register if they are not submitting their annual reports. It's really important for the public that they have transparency in relation to the finances of charities that they are supporting.
Yeah, okay. 59% of charities filing an annual report on their finances and activities. It's much lower than you might want. But in fairness...
That's on time, Greg, I should say.
Yeah, okay.
Because you have to do it within 10 months of your financial year end. By the end of the year, we'd over 70% of charities filing the annual report, albeit that it was late. But that's still not high enough. We need all charities, a very basic compliance requirement. So what I'd say to people, particularly if you're a trustee, and if you're a charity trustee, you know, we've over 75,000 of them in Ireland. They take on considerable responsibilities. They do amazing work. So what I would say to those charity trustees is, you know, check a charity.ie, hop on and check your own charity's entry on the register, and make sure that you are compliant.
Helen, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
my curiosity as to what actually is behind you. I'm not going to put you in a position, but I just want to know.
I wish it is the office I wish I had, Greg.
I just want to see how it compares. It's like that advert where they're afraid to show their kitchen in the background that was running through lockdown.
Well, all that's behind me is my office.
I'm jesting. It just looks so beautiful. Okay, listen, Helen, thanks for your time. Have a lovely day. Okay. Helen Martin there, who's the Chief Executive of the Charities Regulator, with a beautiful background there on the video call. 08660 25,000. Another really busy morning on the texts and phone lines. Thank you so much for that. We'll get to a few of those before we end the show. So let's take this break.
Nutrius Winling Crunch is now on offer at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winling Crunch ATP, get one free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. Contact your local Homeland store or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Do you want the very best for your pet? At Gary's Pet World Letterkenny, we offer fantastic value on all your pet foods, accessories, grooming and pet care products. We cater for cats, dogs, rabbits, birds and fish, and open 7 days per week at Letterkenny Retail Park. Or you can browse and buy 24/7 at petworld.ie and we will deliver to your home. Treat your pet with a visit to Gary's Pet World. It's what they deserve.
Okay, just a reminder for you, if you're out and about in the Fanad area, or more generally, just keep an eye out for Greg King, who's missing. He's from Galway. For those of you watching the stream, he's pictured here, but if you're not, obviously, if you're listening on the radio, where the absolute majority of you are, check out our website or social media. We heard from his partner earlier on. They're all very distressed, looking to get him home. So there's an image of him there. He's quite recognisable, I hope, and we really hope to get them reunited safely. That's the wish, isn't it? Fingers crossed. Dr. Joe Kelly's 100%. He's definitely hitting the mark on what's happening in this country, according to one listener. Another, there's no government here. There is a dictatorship that comes in from Andy. I think, Andy, we have to be really careful when we bandy the word dictatorship around. I don't know how many of us would actually really like to live in the, you know, the actual reality of a dictatorship, but I take your point. Good man, Joe. How refreshing. His voice should be heard nationally. Hi, Greg. Would agree with Joe 100%. The silly Irish just sit back and take everything. There's a new law every month now in Ireland, and we just sit back. Was the same with COVID. We believed everything this government said. My 3 children can't wait to get out of this country. We're all finished big time. Well, they're going to be going to another country that took all the same actions during COVID, and their governments pretty much run the same, but I take your point. Greg, Dr. Joe epitomises the saying, the arrogance of the white middle-aged Western man. Another, in the last election, Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil got the most votes, and that's the government that should have been in power if we had true democracy. The Green Party weren't given a mandate by the people to be in government. That was given to them by Micheál Martin for his own selfish ambition to be a half-in, half-out Taoiseach. But we have proportional representation, and those are the rules under which we vote. So... Greg, Joe was mentioning the Constitution. The Constitution is now overrun by Europe. Dr. Joe Kelly for Taoiseach. We need politicians like him to sort out our country and stand up to Europe. Greg, Joe's talking for us. I only wish we had TDs like him. We're being sold out to Europe. But listen, anyone, the one thing about democracy, anyone can stand for election. But, you know, then do people come out and go, right, okay, I actually really want to change. I'll vote this way or other. A woman was assaulted in Temple Bar yesterday. Another man was attacked on Java Street last night. Strange that RTE isn't mentioning it. Surely our national broadcaster isn't being gagged from broadcasting bad news. I heard both those stories on RTE, so I'm not really quite sure what you mean by that. Not every assault is reported either, by the way, it should be said. Depends how serious they are and so on and so forth. I don't see them there. We definitely got notification of it here, though. So, I don't know what the story is. I mean, you might be tracking, actually, by the way, the story of a case involving a Donegal person, a 55-year-old man who's been jailed for 10 and a half years for raping his daughter when she was a child. This is just coming to us now. The judge in the case praised the dignity and courage of 22-year-old Karen Harkin from Buncrana, who waived her anonymity to allow her father, Michael Carter, to be named. He was found guilty last month of 1 count of rape and 25 sample counts of sexual assault when his daughter was aged between 9 and 12. The court heard Carter does not accept the jury's verdict. Judge Karen O'Connor said it was a massive breach of trust and sentenced Carter to 11 years with the final 6 months suspended. That's just news coming to us from the courts there. OK, thank you very much for all of you taking part in the show today, who listened to the show, watched the show, texted in, whether you did or not, however you did. It's just great to have you all on board. I want to thank Caroline and Niamh for their hard work on the programme as always. John Breslin's coming up around the Northwest very, very shortly, but we're going to take a break for the news. For me, Greg and the team, have a fantastic Tuesday. Talk to you on what's going to be a wet Wednesday, by the way.